After an 11-week self-imposed hiatus, Alistair Clarkson returns to the helm of the North Melbourne Kangaroos. Will his return provide the spark needed to snap a 17-game skid, or will the Demons claim a fifth consecutive win and continue their ominous charge towards September? It's North Melbourne and Melbourne from Bellerive in Hobart. Round 21 action for Grandstand AFL. My name's Chris Rowbottom, and alongside me in commentary is Michael Maney. Our experts this afternoon, two-time Hawthorn Premiership player Brad Sewell, and Saints 300 gamer and Hall of Famer Nathan Burke. Berkey, we'll start with you. A big welcome to Hobart for you.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, lovely to be down here again, and a good day for footy. Not too hot, good cloud cover. If the rain stays away, no excuses for the team. The ground looks lovely, so hopefully a good game of footy. Not
too far away from the first bounce here in Hobart. Brad Sewell, a big welcome to you. The news is the return of Alistair Clarkson, and if anybody knows the impact of that man on a football club, it is you. Will there be a tangible difference for North Melbourne today with Clarko back at the helm?
Hi Chris, great to be here, and Berkey, you're right, fantastic conditions. Nice to be at what feels almost like a suburban ground. You're close to the ground, you're close to the people are close to the players. Looking forward to this. And in terms of Clarko coming back, you'd like to think so, wouldn't you? Just the gravitas of the man being back in the rooms, back around the group. It's something they've all been anticipating. The club have been looking forward to having him back. By the sounds of what Rats has been saying from the outside looking in, he also has been looking forward to having Clarko back. And there's been a sense of rawness and vulnerability Clarko's spoken about during his time away from the game, and some time for some self-reflection and etc. etc. So no doubt he's ready to get back into the fold as well.
Yeah, it'll be fascinating to see how it all unfolds in a tangible sense, whether or not we see anything different from a game plan or positional setup from North Melbourne, or whether or not it'll just merely be his presence that might inspire North Melbourne over the line. It's fair to say they need a win. They are on a 17-game skid, North Melbourne. An 18th consecutive loss would mark their third worst consecutive loss streak in the history of the club. So some unwanted history hoping to be avoided. But Berkey, all of a sudden, Melbourne, off the back of losses to Port Adelaide and Collingwood to Hawthorn yesterday, are in the hunt for a spot in the top two, and a win today will see them leapfrog the power to enter the AFL top two.
Yeah, a lot to play for. For a long time there, we thought the top two was just sewn up. Collingwood, Port Adelaide had a mortgage on that, and everyone else was playing for 3 and 4. But to get that top two spot, it is coveted. It is important come the end of the season to get all those extra chances and things like that. Easier run through. So, yeah, a lot to play for, but also a lot to play for in terms of how they want to play the game. And I just look at Melbourne and their forward line structure. I don't think they've nailed it. Petrarca playing up there in the finals isn't the answer. He's going to be up around the middle. So really fascinated to see what they're going to do today and in the coming months. Coming weeks, to actually sort that out so they can compete with the big boys at the pointy end of the season.
What about Harrison Petty? He went forward as the swingman last week, kicked 6 goals against the Tigers to go with 10 marks. Is that a long-term option? I'd assume we'd get another look at that this afternoon.
Yeah, you'd think so. But again, is Petty and Van Rooyen, are they your two key forwards that are going to take you through the finals? I'm not too sure. Petrarca warmed up with the forward group. He didn't go anywhere near the stoppage group, so you expect him to play a fair bit there forward. And Brayshaw, who's at times patrolled the half-back line, he's been in at centre bounce in the warm-up. So is that what they're trying to build for the season, or is that just, we'll just manage Petrarca, let him play forward, and then unleash him back in the middle come the finals? But when you do take him out of the forward line, that's going to leave a fairly big hole down there as well. So, really interesting to see how the coaches really formulate this Melbourne side over the next month.
Yeah, Clayton Oliver, the other piece of that puzzle too. He won't be out there this afternoon, but we expect to see him back as soon as next week. They have strung together 4 consecutive wins without their ball-winning dynamo in the middle, and we'll be hoping for a 5th this afternoon here in Hobart. Pretty good conditions. And welcome to you, Michael Maney, alongside me in commentary this afternoon. Always good to get down the highway and call a game of footy in Hobart.
Fantastic, Chris. Thanks for the welcome. Yeah, good conditions as we mentioned just before, and Interesting that Jack Ziebell will end his career for North Melbourne in 10th on the games record list. What a career he's had. He's signalled that he's going to retire. And Toddy Goldstein will go past Glenn Archer today. Archer on 311 games, Toddy Goldstein going for 312. And this will be Goldstein and Ziebell's 261st game together. So they've gone to battle a fair few times. And I guess the thing is, Melbourne on a 4-game winning streak, they average 110 points in their last few games, but they concede 83. So even though that forward line's not functioning, sometimes that back line's not quite functioning at times with May and Lever back there, but they've certainly got to go to work today.
And good to see Jack Ziebell back in the starting 22 this afternoon after starting as the sub for the last couple of weeks. He will retire at year's end, as we know. We've just seen the toss of the coin, which means it's a good time to cross to the 5th member of our commentary team. Andrew Cooling is on the boundary.
Yeah, good afternoon, boys. As you've mentioned already, lovely conditions down here for a game of football. The sun just breaking out behind some dark clouds on the horizon that might come into play in the second half. For now, couldn't ask for better conditions. Nice and warm, no wind to speak of, and no excuses for the players. No late changes to either side this afternoon. They're as named. The substitutes will be Charlie Lazaro for North Melbourne, while for the Demons, Michael Hibbard will be the sub.
Thank you, Andrew. So the players making their way out into their positions as the Melbourne Football Club breaks from their huddle and the midfield group goes into the middle of the ground. Some tips and predictions first from you, Nathan Burt.
I'm going to say Melbourne will win, and I'm also going to say how. North Melbourne will hang in there for 3 quarters, and then Melbourne will come home over the top in the last.
Sully, a quick one from you.
No, Berkey, I hope you're right. Well, I'm not as optimistic, I'm afraid. Melbourne for mine.
North Melbourne and Melbourne live from Bellerive Oval in Hobart. Round 21 action for Grandstand AFL. Players await. The umpire makes his way to the middle. You're with Michael Maney for the opening bounce.
And it looks like Pickett will go to the centre bounce. First up, Max Gawn and Goldstein. They locked together. Pickett almost got through. The quick handball by Brayshaw back to Pickett. So that has worked straight away. Ziebell did nicely trap the ball at half back for the Kangaroos. His kick out toward the wing. Larkey, long way from home. Can't get there. Taylor just knocked over. Pickett back in again. Ball's on the wing. The broadcast side, Tucker feeds it back to Ziebell. Ziebell gets inside 50. It's shallow, but up they go. Sherry can't take the mark. Here's an opportunity here for Curtis, and he misses. He misses what he probably should have got there, Paul Curtis, and a behind. One behind to North Melbourne. Melbourne had to score.
Opening score of the game, Paul Curtis with the left foot snap around the body as Rivers brings it in for Melbourne. Kicks beyond defensive 50. There's a holding free kick at half back, and it'll go the way of Max Gawn. So one out in the ruck once again is Max Gawn this afternoon. His first disposal coming up at left half back. It's a short ball. Finds a player on the lead in Sparrow. He goes short to Hunter, who marks in front of the hill here at Bellerive. As the Demons play a little bit of tempo footy to start things off here in Hobart. Hunter gets things moving inside 50, but getting across was Jack Ziebell and marking on his chest for his 3rd disposal of the afternoon. Sheasel now inside the defensive 50. Kick put Curtis Taylor under pressure. Demons converge. Langdon goes in after it at ground level. Paddles it out to a teammate. Petty couldn't get hold of it. Simpkin lays a big tackle, and it'll be a ball up at right half forward for the Demons, 65 metres out from goal.
Pretty willing early, North Melbourne. Got it all in front of them. Gawn got it down to Brayshaw quickly on the boot. Viney trapping it was Ziebell. Had a good start to the game. Away it comes. Handball away to Simpkin. Now Simpkin's got to get away from the Sparrow tackle, and the umpire said that tackle might have been pretty good, but Simpkin, I should say, has the free. Spreads it to Tucker on the wing on the broadcast side of the ground. So Tucker feeds it back to Ziebell. Petty just a little late on the scene. So Ziebell at half back, just on his defensive 50 in his little chip kick, and it ends up at half back with Davies Uniacke. So Davies-Uniacke goes out wide to Core. So they've just moved it ever so slowly to the other side of the ground, the outer side. Core goes to a packed situation. Larkey can't take the mark. Simpkin ends up with it. And they'll go inside 50 again through Turner. Turner's high kick. Smith with a big thump away for Melbourne. Sherry's there. McVee, and that's not his best kick. And it's gone out of bounds on the full.
So Judd McVee will turn it over and hand North Melbourne possession of the football at right half forward. Long ball inside 50. Top of the square. Pack will form over the back. Bouncing footy. Did it go all the way through? It might have.
No, it was touched definitely by Lever.
So the umpires are going to have a look at this. It cleared the pack. We might have had a fingernail on the ball as it rolled over the boundary line from Jake Lever. So score review coming up. The soft call is a behind.
Lever definitely touched it. He almost paddled it through.
As we see the replay, and it does appear to be
They're looking
at least a finger on that ball, is it?
You watch Lever at the back here as it rolls over the marking contest.
Having a good old look at this.
Having trouble getting a good angle on it, aren't they? Not a great
Lever
comment
hits
for radio.
it through there. Right there, bang. Point. Let's go. Play on.
So this should be called as a minor score for North Melbourne. Paddled through by Lever. Still deliberating here, the umpires.
I've got a plane to catch this afternoon.
Not
you
as
guys,
convinced as you are, Nathan Burke.
Goodness me, I'm 100 metres away and I saw it.
It certainly looks to me like it was touched on the way through as well.
The umpire's call is a behind.
It's going to take something pretty extraordinary to overturn that call, I would have thought. So decision coming through now, and it looks like it will be a minor score, and it is. So umpire's call was the behind, and after all the fuss, confirmed what at least Nathan Burke already knew, a minor score to North Melbourne. There, 0 goals, 2 behinds. Melbourne yet to score.
After all that, Stephen May just ambles out and kicks it toward the wing. Gone. Knocked it away. Goldstein was there. Archer as well. Hunter, little handball to Gawn on his left boot. Just hugs the boundary line. Petty got a little nudge from behind. No free kick. Harms. Nicely done by Shees. We've got it to Scott. Scott, his kicks finds Larkey. Couple of kicks out from goal. Nick Larkey. He's booted 4 the last 2 times he's come to this ground. Nick Larkey kicks long inside 50. Sherry, and can't get there to take the mark. It's knocked to the line. Boundary throw in right forward pocket. North Melbourne in attack. We've gone almost 6 minutes in the first turn. The Kangas by 2.
Larky's pushing up really high. That's twice he's marked the ball outside 50, kicking the ball inside to Sherry. So whether they're trying to drag Stephen May up out of the way, he's not going with him. He's staying deep.
From the boundary throwing, Gawn won it down. Pouncing on the loose footy was Davies-Uniacke. Dodged through a couple, and the left foot finish was offline. So another minor score for North Melbourne. They're 3 behinds. Melbourne yet to score. 6.5 gone first term for Grandstand AFL.
Been a bit wasteful going forward, the Kangaroos. Each time they've gone in, it's either been a long kick close to the goal line or the boundary line, not giving their coming forwards too much of a chance.
It's Groundhog Day as May kicks it to the wing. Gawn took it off the hands of Goldstein. Jackson Archer in there and locked up by Neil Bullen, and it'll be a boundary. It'll be, I should say, a ball up. On the outer side of the ground. Gawn knocks it down, back to Hunter. Hunter's got to use Salem. Salem's kick is a very, very good one to the wing, finds Brayshaw. Running past is Hunter. Hunter, the kick was looking for Petrarca, just went past him. Here's Neil Bullen, trying to get around. Loose ball. Handball comes out from Van Rooyen, taken by Pickett. Pickett's shot at goal. That is miraculous from Pickett. Well, North Melbourne do all the heavy lifting. They get 3 behinds for their multiple inside 50s, and Pickett, a left footer from the wrong pocket for a left footer, and he kicks the Demons' first goal. They're 1 straight 6. North Melbourne 3 behinds.
It's exciting to watch, isn't he? Dangerous, electric, either in the forward line or out of the centre bounce. Always something seems to happen with the ball when Pickett's in the vicinity. Fantastic finish, and unfortunately for the Kangaroos, They have done all the heavy lifting. The game has been played in their half. They haven't been able to. That hasn't shown on the scoreboard, and Melbourne, that's what they do. So efficient going forward.
So a moment of Keziah Pickett brilliance kicks things off here at Bellerive. He started in the middle of the ground, did Cozzy Pickett, but floated forward and did what only Pickett can do and kick a miraculous goal to start us off here in Hobart as Gawn wins it out of the middle, and the Melbourne Demons will go again through Petrarca. Ran to 55, elected the handball. Sparrow now with a flying shot on goal. Couldn't make it 2 in a row for the Demons. He misses to the far side. A minor score, so Melbourne 1-1-7, lead North Melbourne. No goals scored. 3 behinds, 8.5 gone first term.
Petrarca and Pickett, it's almost like the old rover forward pocket change. They're just swapping on ball. It's a bit of a flashback to the past.
Well, Aidan Corr kicked it straight to Harms, sits outside 50, and then Harms decides he's going to kick it back to Jack Zeeble. So, a couple of errors by foot.
Jack's in for a good day when the other team just kick it straight to you. You always like a couple of them early.
Yeah, gets the confidence levels up. He's had a bit of the ball. Free kick here is going to the Demons. It's going to Lever. He's just outside 50, about 70 to 75 from goal. Lever, he may just try to centre this right up. He does. It's a good squaring kick, but Goldstein is ever present and outmarks Petrarca. It was a no contest, really. Goda goes out wide to Turner, who sprawls and takes the mark at half back on the outer side. As the boundary umpire going to say he juggled that a little bit. So one little tap inside, one tap outside, it's a boundary throw.
So boundary throw in. Demons have it at left half forward. In it comes as Goldstein and Van Rooyen jostle. Goldstein got to the front, palmed it straight into the direction of Jordan, but it comes out now to Phillips of North Melbourne, who throws it on the boot and clears the area. Bouncing ball on the wing now. Brayshaw arrived first. Got through the Kane Turner tackle, but missed Gawn on the handball, and it spills out of bounds for another boundary throw in. Melbourne lead this by 4 points. 1-1-7 the D's. North Melbourne 3 behinds. 10 minutes gone in the first term. Not a bad little crowd in here at Bellerive either, as Gawn and Sherry jostle. Gawn goes after it at ground level. There's a free kick here as Brayshaw won the handball out. It'll go the way of North Melbourne for some holding on. And it'll be Tucker on centre wing out of side. He gets things moving with a high left foot ball to right half forward. It's spiked out of bounds. Another boundary throw in. North Melbourne at right half forward. Melbourne 1-1-7, North Melbourne 3 behinds, 10.5 gone first term.
Could almost call that a Frawley these days, couldn't we, Berkey? You love the big punch from behind, Danny.
Absolutely, yes. There's no frills about Danny.
No, got the job done, though.
If he didn't hit the ball, he'd hit the back of the head.
And didn't mind that either.
No.
Here's Gawn, away to Harms by hand. Now Brayshaw on the left boot, hugged the line. But it's been taken by McDonald. He takes the mark and switches back in to Goda. He goes out wide to Zeeble. Geez, had some touches in this game so far, Jack Zeeble. Been doing it well too. Needs to pick someone off in the middle. 2 against 1, and the kick was superb to Davies Uniacke. That was a wonderful kick by Zeeble. Now another one to McDonald, who takes the mark and plays on. The kick phase. Larkey at the back, May at the front. Ball just rolls to the line. It's on the right half forward flank. North Melbourne in attack. They trail by 4 points. 3 points, the Kangas. 1-1-7, the Demons.
Any long kick not out in front of Larkey or Sherry. Lever and May just love those coming over the top. They've got to put the ball out in front so they can lead onto it.
Simpkin pounces on a loose ball off the tap. He was wrapped up by Salem and spills out now to Jordan. He was taken by Curtis, and we'll have a ball up inside North Melbourne's attacking 50. Searching for their first of the afternoon. Goldstein and Gawn go at it over the back. Turner sharked it, scrambled a ball forward. It was off the foot of Larkey, but the Demons have the numbers in defence. They were under the pump as May got it to Lever, and he just rolled it over the behind line for a minor score. So 4 behinds North Melbourne. They trail the Demons 1-1-7. 3-point ball game, 12.5 gone first term.
I thought Stephen May might have got a little bored, but that's a terrible kick. He's really mucked that up. It's taken by Larkey. Larkey's got to feed it back. Another handball back to Goldstein. He's 35 out directly in front. And Stephen May, a little missed kick. Out from fullback, just went the short option, got the inside of his boot, and Goldstein was on the end of a handball, and the Kangaroos hit the lead. They're 1-4-10. They get some reward in the end. Melbourne 1-1-7.
They do get reward. They've had a number of 450 entries, and as Berkey alluded, if you keep kicking it long and high, Laver and May just plays into their hands. Kangaroos, when they go, they need to lower their eyes, try and hit those lead-ups, drag those key defenders out of their comfort zone, and try and pick apart the defence when they go forward.
So back in the middle, North Melbourne wrestle back the lead. 1-4-10, the Kangaroos. The Demons 1-1-7.
Going to be a good battle between Gawn and Goldstein. I think Gawn's better around the ground, but goal, you've got to take that.
Viney scrambles it out of the middle for the Demons. They go inside forward 50, but the ground ball is gathered by Simpkin, who releases Tucker. His short ball is good to Phillips, and North Melbourne hold possession just back of a wing near side. Risky kick into the middle of the ground, wanted Sheasel. Melbourne will come up with it through Langdon. Handball off to Brayshaw, whose little tumble forward was fortuitous. Landed in the lap of Sparrow. He has it right in front of the broadcast position. Inside 50 go the Demons, but it's all North Melbourne as Luke McDonald gets back and takes an easy, uncontested mark. There might be a 50-metre penalty here. There is. Christian Petrarca just snuck over the mark.
I like how North are trying to use the corridor whenever they can. It's been a bit risky sometimes, but why not? Just take it on. McDonald
wastes no time and sends North Melbourne inside 50. Big fly from Eddie Ford, but he was shepherded out of it, and he'll get a free kick. So Eddie Ford flew somewhat unrealistically. Lever held his ground, but it was deemed a shepherd as Ford went flying, and he earns himself a free. He'll have a shot on goal, 45 metres out, slide angle.
It's a bit lucky there. Lever's trying to get back just to protect the space. The ball went over his head. I'm sure if there's much intent there to shepherd.
The old unrealistic attempt was running through my mind.
So Eddie Ford for back-to-back goals for North Melbourne. Makes his approach. He'll kick from 45 metres, slide angle, liked it. As soon as it hit the boot, it sails over the goal umpire's head, and the Roos have their second. 2-4-16 North Melbourne. Melbourne 1-1-7, 15 and a half gone. Grandstand AFL first term, Nathan Burke.
Well, I'm liking the way the Roos are moving the ball up and down the ground. Their backline have been really attacking so far. We mentioned Zeebel's had a fair bit of the footy, but the other guys down there as well. They're using the ball well. They're not just bombing it out of there. Tried to use the corridor 3 or 4 times. Once it didn't come off, but the other times it has. The only thing they need to fix up is what we've mentioned a couple of times, is just that long bomb inside 50. Melbourne love that. They'll dine out on that one all day. So if they could just start to get that last kick inside 50 a little bit more direct, a little bit more in front of their teammate, well then the way that they're moving the ball should ideally end in a pretty big score.
2-4-16 North Melbourne. Melbourne 1-1-7. Ford's 6th goal of the season. The umpire will recall that ball from the centre and he'll throw it up. I wonder what the numbers are as we tally them up throughout the season for the recalls. Here it goes. Van Rooyen in the ruck and then snared by Thomas. Away to Taylor. Good kick. Finds Turner. Turner had Thomas. He decides to drill it long. He's hoping for a mark from Ford again. Has got it.
Like that change of direction coming out of centre square. Initially lowered the eyes out to the flank, and then initially the Kangaroos forwards pushed out wide. That change of direction coming back in meant that the Melbourne defenders were out of position.
Ford kicked a goal a minute and a half ago, and this one might be slightly easier again. No angle, straight in front, about 35 metres out. Sits it up. Goal umpire doesn't have to do too much work. Ford's got a couple. And the Kangaroos have got 3. They're 3-4-22. Melbourne 1-1-7. 17 and a half minutes gone in the first term at Bellreeve.
Well, as you called it there, Sully, a really good lead by Ford because the ball was on the right forward flank. He led out that way, then came back towards the middle of the ground. But Lever was in front of him trying to cut the ball off going to the boundary. So lead away, get the ball out in front, and in the end it was pretty much an uncontested mark. So a really good kick to advantage of your forward, and that's what North Melbourne, they're getting the ball inside 50 enough. If they keep doing that, as we say, they can kick a big score, but it's getting the ball out of the middle here. It's not a really long ground, this one, so you get the ball out of the middle, you can certainly get it into scoring position pretty quickly.
15 points the margin as North Melbourne pile on 3 goals in a row. Over to you, Demons. Back in the middle we go. Sherry went to ground. Out of the stoppage was Petrarca. Kicked to half forward. Couldn't be taken by Neil Bullen. Went back after it. Viney arrived first. He was tackled as he went after it by McDonald. Back of the square. We'll have a ball up in that position. The Demons searching for their second goal of the afternoon. Up it goes. Sherry got it down only as far as Jordan, but he went only as far as Turner, who released Stevenson by hand. One-on-one contest inside 50. Taran Thomas did well to bring it down. Couldn't complete the mark though. Demons with the numbers here. Bowie handballed it up, turned it over. Hanson Jr. coming forward. Thomas couldn't gather cleanly. Jordan came through for the Demons. Handball to Salem. Kick around the corner was no good because he picked out an opposing jumper in Phillips, who takes the mark at left half forward for North Melbourne. The Roos go inside once again. Pack flies, nobody able to take the mark. At ground level, Davies Uniacke applies a tackle on Petrarca, who's gone back onto the ball. It's all locked up inside North Melbourne's attacking 50.
Van Rooyen got it down to Petrarca, who evades a couple and then just jammed it on the boot. It's a wobbly old ball. Petty in front, couldn't take the chest mark. Mackay did pretty well there. They throw themselves on the footy, and it will be a ball up. It's on the wing, on the broadcast side of the ground. North Melbourne kicking to the left of your radio dial. Van Rooyen did well. Shark by Davies Uniacke, just funneled it out well. Taylor, his kick. Didn't go 15 according to the umpire. Was marked by Jordan. Hanson Jr. just jammed it on the boot. Which way able to bounce? Well done by Thomas. Just knocked it on in front of Larkey, but Larkey's taken out of the equation. And now Lever just hoists it high. One for the high flyers. Who can take a grab? Ball knocked to the line. Boundary throw in. About 70 from North Melbourne's goal, just outside. They're attacking 50, left half forward.
Kangaroos intent around the ball pressure is just causing Melbourne to cough it up and fumble at times. 36 uncontested possessions, 20 in Kangaroos' favour. They're controlling the ball well going forward.
Umpire spins it in at left half forward for North Melbourne. Sherry got to the front, eventually just won it off his own touch, shrugged the tackle, had more time than he thought, and fit out a handball to Taylor. Inside 50 they go again, North Melbourne. Turner unable to take the mark. Rivers on hands and knees, feeds it out to Jordan. Some indecisiveness in the kick. He goes into the middle of the ground, guarded by Jack Siebel, who's having an influence on this contest. He marks in front of Melksham, plays on immediately by hand, and the Roos go inside 50 again. Rivers attempted to pick it off, couldn't complete the mark, but fed the handball to Gawn. He missed Jordan. Gee, Sherry came barrelling through. Did Salem strip him? Umpire said no. Short ball inside 50 from Taylor, wasn't 15. Stevenson went in after it. Off to Davies Uniacke, who spots up a target. And North Melbourne will have another shot on goal, this time via Bailey Scott. 40 metres out directly in front.
I'm not sure whether Bailey Scott was the original target he was aiming for, because Larkey was leading out, but a really good play, keeping the ball alive in their forward line, North Melbourne, and Davies Uniacke could have blasted away, but lowered his eyes and found Scott.
So Bailey Scott to extend the margin to 21 points with a 4th consecutive goal, and he makes no mistake. North Melbourne 4-4-28. Lead Melbourne 1-1-7, 22 minutes gone, first term for Grandstand AFL, Brad Sewell.
Terrific start by the Kangaroos, and it's all set up from half back. Jack Siebel, he's had plenty of the ball. He's sitting on about 8 possessions at the moment, leading on the ground, and their intent to move the ball direct from half back and get it forward as quickly as they can is becoming more and more evident. You could see when Siebel took that mark just behind centre circle, he was calling Mackay forward to get the handball received, to pump it in quickly, and they're doing a fantastic job at moving that fast transition play.
Clarko might talk to Siebel about maybe hanging on for another one if he's going to play like this when he's coaching.
He's certainly been right on top of it today. 4-4-28 to 1-1-7. North Melbourne lead the contest, and there's another poor bounce by the umpire. And another recall. Here we go. Throws it up. Sherry and Gawn, they both got a piece of that. Viney hoisted the handball out. Neil Bullen just came from centre half back and ran straight onto it. Now he feeds it off to Sparrow. Sparrow goes inside 50, but McDonald, who's been pretty secure back there, Luke McDonald, and he chips it away to possession winner number 9 for Zeeble. He's told to play on now. Kicks to the wing. Larkey's in amongst that. Smith with a big leap. Away go North Melbourne again. Nicely done. This time Davies Uniacke is caught with the footy. Well, he picked that ball up beautifully, did Davies Uniacke, but had no awareness of who was around him, and he dropped the footy. Harms with the free kick, and he kicks to the wing short and finds May. May with that traditional little tippy-toe strut that he has. This time the little short kick to Bowie back 15 metres is okay. Stevenson mans the mark. So Bowie from the wing. Kicks down long. Van Rooyen got in front, couldn't complete the mark. Viney tracking it close. No one can really grab the footy. North Melbourne done a pretty good job to lock this ball up as Melbourne went forward. And it's right half forward. Melbourne in attack. They're about 50 metres from goal.
So the Roos playing with plenty of vim and vigour as the D's search for their second. Davies Uniacke read it beautifully off the tap, but that's a wonderful bit of defensive work. Smothered out of bounds, and we'll have a boundary throw in. 45 metres out from Melbourne's goal. Front, the David Boone stand. Plenty of navy blue and red here at Bellerive this afternoon. Rucks go at it. Sherry takes it straight out of the ruck. Gets it on the boot. High ball just back of a wing now. Standing underneath and taking really strong mark was Bowie. Some cries of 50, but the umpire said no. It was knocked out of his hands on the way down. So Bowie right on the logo. He'll send the D's inside 50. Once again, big pack forms. Fist over the top from core. At ground level was Langdon. Got it off to Harms. Thought about the shot on goal. Elected to handball to Bowie. Little chipping ball into the pocket. Wanted Petty, but it was well looked after by Mackay. Knocked over for another boundary throw in the right forward pocket. 25 and a half gone in this first term. North Melbourne lead 4-4-28. The D's 1-1-7.
Spirited opening by the Kangaroos. Would please Alistair Clarkson his return. Sherry from the boundary throw in. Viney right there with Zeeble, the two number 7s. And another ball up. It's about 25 metres out from Melbourne's goal. Right forward pocket. A lot of players around the footy. No one can get the tap down. Davies Uniacke was there. In goes Viney. Shrugs a couple. Off to Petrarca. Away to Van Rooyen, who jammed it on the left boot, and it floats away for a behind. A miss to the Demons, 1-2-8. And the Kangaroos 4-4-28. A 20-point lead to the Kangaroos. 26 gone.
Yeah, they've been impressive, North Melbourne. Has been some of the older heads in McDonald and Zeeble leading the charge as Core brings it in from full back, kicks all the way out to the outer wing where Larkey stands tall and takes a mark above his head. His kick isn't so great though. He's picked out the Melbourne defender in McVie, who gets back and takes a good mark. He retreats to May. He's got Rivers laterally if he wants him. He elects against that, goes short and wide out to Lockie Hunter, who marks on his chest, just back of a wing on the outer side.
Kangaroos set up defensively well in front of the ball.
So Hunter runs his full measure and kicks with the left boot towards 50 for the Demons. Pack forms off hands. Scrubbed forward now by Brayshaw. Zeeble leads the race. Gawn gets there first though. Zeeble lays the tackle. And he's taken over the line. We're deep in attack for the D's. In the left forward pocket. 4-4-28 North Melbourne. Lead by 20 points. 27 and a half gone in this first term. The D's 1-2-8. Can they pinch one back here in the shadows of quarter time? In it comes. It's Van Rooyen and Goldstein do the ruck work. Came out to Hunter. fed the handball to Brayshaw, had to kick around the body into the forward pocket. Chandler couldn't handle it. North Melbourne with the clearing kick via Phillips. Larkey tracked it to the boundary, but he had May for company, and it's knocked over. Another boundary throw in right in front of the heel.
This is all suiting North Melbourne. They just want to hang on to this lead into quarter time. So clog it up, repeat ball ups. They're happy with a 3-goal lead, I reckon.
Larkey's covering a lot of territory. Hasn't been too close to goal so far. Goldstein from the boundary throw in. Tapped it down. Hunter's over the footy. Thomas is just appealing. Give me the free kick. But the umpire said it was just locked in and he never dragged it back in. There could be a blood rule coming here, and I'm not sure who it is. It's Viney. So Viney's going to run from the field on the blood rule. But wow, what an opening by North Melbourne. They've really taken it up to the Demons. There could be a couple of goals further in front, given some decent inside 50 poise. So Petrarca back on. Ball up. Goldstein knocks it down. Thomas tried to ram his way through, but he got collared in harms. When he gets you, you stay got. Another ball up. Goldstein reaches over the top. No real advantage. Kicked off the ground by Simpkin. It's going to go close to the line. Ford's there, trying to keep it in the field of play. Did pretty well, then got collared with a big tackle. Handball came out from Smith. Now it ends up with McVee, who hugs the line looking for Gawn, but right at his bootlaces, couldn't control the footy. It'll be a boundary throw-in on the outer side. We've gone 29 minutes in the first term. The Kangaroos 4-4-28. The Demons 1-2-8.
Andrew Cooling's on the boundary.
Yeah, Jack Viney off for the blood rule, just getting a cut above his right eye looked at. That's being treated at the moment.
Not for the first time in Jack Viney's career, that's for sure, as Hunter read it off the ruck tap. Kicks around the corner, gains about 40 metres to a contest. It falls now to Simpkin, who goes back now to Scott. Forced to just kick off the back step. Tumbling ball forward for North Melbourne. Foot race on now. Who will get there first? Ford overrun it. It came out to Hunter, who got it to Salem. They go wide now, the Demons. Over the head of Brayshaw. Runs onto a bouncing footy. Missed Bowie. Pocket picked by Goldstein. Now Davies Uniac puts it out in front of Simpkin. All by hand here. Thomas now. Neat ball inside 50. Well played North Melbourne as Larkey marks on the lead.
That's probably indicative of the effort that Melbourne have shown at times this quarter. When Todd Goldstein's picking pockets and beating 2-on-1s out in the centre wing in space, something Simon Goodwin would not be happy to see. And Thomas, fantastic lowering his eyes. You can see May dropping back, expecting the kick to go long. Larkey hitting up, and fantastic find.
So Nick Larkey for his first of the afternoon. He'll kick from just inside 50 on the angle, sends it on its way. He missed. What a golden opportunity that was to extend the margin for North Melbourne. They go to 4-5-29. They lead the D's 1-2-8 deep into the first term here for Grandstand AFL.
Boy, that would have been important. They're going to have a lift going into quarter time, but if Larkey could have put that one through, going 4 goals up, geez, they would have been up and about.
Bowie boots it long from full back. The target was Gawn. Now taken by Ford. Ford's trying to curl this back. Oh. He's curled it well. He's got 3. Wow, Eddie Ford's jumped out at us in this first term for North Melbourne. On the run, across the body. What a kick. 5-5-35 the Kangaroos. 1-2-8 Melbourne. And we've gone 31 and a half in this first term. They were out by 27 and they get that goal, Berkey.
It's amazing effort by Ford. He was neck and neck with his opponent, and he just pushed him off and sprinted at the footy. It was it was almost a snap from 45 metres. Normally a player would probably do a drop punt around the corner from there, but he snapped it on his right boot and it sailed straight through the middle. So 3 goals in the first quarter. Can't ask for more from Eddie Ford. He's playing his role and a bit more.
Well, you just get the sense that The Melbourne faithful here in Hobart are a little shell-shocked as we go back into the middle. Can they win a centre clearance here? They can via James Harms. Inside 50 go the D's. Big fly from Petty at the back, but it's knocked away. Petrarca lurking. Can't get to the footy. It comes out to Langdon. Over the top now, Chandler. Petrarca got the handball to Neil Bullen. Shrugged the Zeeble tackle. Handball to a dangerous spot. Davies Uniacke applies the pressure. North Melbourne will come up with it though. Zeeble with another touch. Kicks toward the boundary, but it'll be marked by Smith. No, it won't. He dropped it. It'll spill over. Boundary throw in at right half forward for the Demons.
Definitely be shell-shocked, the Demons. They're losing all the 50-50 contests and at times looking quite listless in the contest, getting pushed off far too easily.
Yeah, Kingers are up and about. After that ball went outside their defensive 50, all the defenders got around, clapped each other and high-fived each other, and really, they're up and about.
Pressure rating is up. Here's Langdon from the tap down. Is kick. No one can take the mark. Chandler tried to leapfrog a couple. Pickett with a nice little block of the handball. In they go. Ends up with Goda. Goda feeds it back to Mackay. Back to Zeeble. He's right in his defensive line. And his measured kick finds Davies Uniacke, who's got a man in a bit of space on the outer side. And he gets mown down. No one can really grab this. Taken by Melksham. Melksham's little chipping ball to Petrarca, close to the line. Couldn't take the mark. Handball to Neil Bullen. Got it back to Petrarca. He's got to shrug one off. He can't get around Petrarca. He might have been legged. The umpire said that tackle just dragged down to the bootlaces, and Petrarca in the left forward pocket will win a free kick, and he'll shoot for Melbourne's second goal and reduce it by 21 if you've just tuned in. Yes, North Melbourne in front by 27 as we hit 34 minutes in the first term. Petrarca is about 25 metres out on an angle. He'll kick across the body, runs around, and he's muffed it. He's just scraped it in for a behind on the other side of the goals, and nothing going right for the Demons in the first term. But it's a 139 to 5-5-35 scoreline.
I think the siren blower's gone home. We're at almost 35 minutes. We've only had 6 goals kicked.
From the restart, we're at right half forward still for Melbourne, and it's all locked up. We'll have a ball up. Yeah, long quarter, almost 35
we had
minutes.
The 5-minute umpire, goal umpire.
That's very true. Up it goes. Gawn just paddles it down. Jordan, he's wrapped up by Tucker. North Melbourne come up with it through Sherry, but Brayshaw laid to some other. Chandler gets the loose footy, and there is the siren. And my oh my, North Melbourne have stunned Melbourne here at Bellary with a 5-1 opening quarter. 5-5-35 North Melbourne. 1-3-9 the Demons after one here at Bellary. And Nathan Burke, it was a quarter that well and truly belonged to North Melbourne. Where's it been all season?
Exactly. Just everything's going right, but I think it's just starting with their intent. Their intent around the football is enormous. They're just hunting Melbourne. Every time a Melbourne player picks it up, there's 1-2 of them harassing them, tackling. Every time the ball spills, they seem to have more numbers at the ball. Their backline has been absolutely outstanding at this point. Every time the ball hits the ground, if it's in the air, they're spoiling it with real intent. And then when they go forward, they've been clean at times, hit some targets. Other times it's just been going in long, but whenever it does go in, it doesn't come out quickly, and they've managed to have some repeat entries going back at those Melbourne defenders, and that's the way to win the game. Win the territory battle, have those repeat inside 50s, just work your backside off when it goes in there and make something happen out of nothing. And at the moment, everything's going right for North Melbourne, but they're making it go right just through the intent that they're playing. Melbourne, you're right, they look a little bit shell-shocked. They're certainly not as hard and as fast as North Melbourne. It's like a team who probably expected the scoreline to be the other way at quarter time, and it's just not working for them. So I think if I'm Simon Goodwin, I'm coming down, and the first thing I'm saying is boys, we need to get our hands dirty here. North Melbourne have come to play, and if we don't come to play in the next 3 quarters, well, then we're going to go home with a tail between our legs.
It should have been the results from earlier yesterday. The 2 upsets should have been at the forefront of the Melbourne's mind. Invariably what happens towards the latter part of the year, you know you're playing finals, you're playing against a lesser team, it can be difficult to find yourself motivated for those games, and we've certainly seen that today. We saw that yesterday. The challenge now for Melbourne is to turn it around. Petrarca, there was an extra sense of urgency and intensity in a few of his contests late in that quarter. Invariably, he often is the spark for Melbourne, and they'll need somebody like him to stand up and try and shift the momentum. But when you're playing against side like the Kangaroos, they have nothing to lose. Absolutely nothing, and you can see that in their intent. You can see that in the way they're moving their ball from half-back, just direct as fast as they can. And when the ball is in the hands of somebody like Taryn Thomas around 75 to 80 metres out, he is going to lower his eyes. He is going to reward that player leading up, as we saw in Larkey, which dissolves the impact of Lever and May.
So some goal kickers for you before we take a short break from here at Bellerive. Eddie Ford has 3 first quarter goals for North Melbourne. Bailey Scott and Todd Goldstein also have majors for the Roos. Keziah Pickett, Melbourne's only goal kicker. He kicked the opening goal of the game before North Melbourne slammed on 5 in a row. Leading disposals for you, Jack Zeeble back in the 22, has 11 touches. For North Melbourne, Jai Simpkin has 8 and Luke Davies-Uniacke has 7. For the D's, Brayshaw has 10, Hunter with 9 and James Harms has 6. We'll take a short break from here at Bellerive, where North Melbourne hold a 26-point advantage over Melbourne here in Hobart. Back soon.
There's a bigger picture to be found, a wider viewpoint. There's more than one side to every story, and you'll find so much more with ABC News Online. Around the world and from wherever you are, get a bigger picture of the stories that matter to you, with explainers, live blogs and analysis. Your news, your way, every day, from Australia's most trusted news source. Download the ABC News app or head to ABC News Online. Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Boy, but that's a terrible kick. He's really mucked that up. It's taken by Larkey. Larkey's got to feed it back. Another handball back to Goldstein. He's 35 out directly in front. And Stephen May, a little missed kick. And the Kangaroos hit the lead.
McDonald wastes no time and sends North Melbourne inside 50. Big fly from Eddie Ford, but he was shepherded out of it, and he'll get a free kick. Makes his approach. He'll kick from 45 metres, slide angle, liked it. As soon as it hit the boot, it sails over the goal umpire's head.
Liking the way the Roos are moving the ball up and down the ground. Their backline have been really attacking so far. We mentioned Zeebel's had a fair bit of the footy, but the other guys down there as well. They're using the ball well. They're not just bombing it out of there.
Turner had Thomas. He decides to drill it long. He's hoping for a mark from Ford again. 35 metres out. Sits it up. Goal umpire doesn't have to do too much work. Ford's got a couple.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Well, Hawthorn were able to knock off Collingwood by 32 points yesterday, and we saw West Coast run Essendon to within a point at Docklands. Can North Melbourne cause an upset here in Hobart? They've given themselves every chance. They're 5-5-35 at quarter time, leading Melbourne 1-3-9, 26 points to the good as the players break from their quarter time huddles and move back to their positions. Eddie Ford has 3 first quarter goals here at Bellerive upon the return of Alistair Clarkson, whose return to the coach's box seems to have inspired his charges. Nathan Burke, what would you like to see from Melbourne in this second term to get back onto equal footing?
Well, Melbourne's disposal efficiency at the moment is just 62%. So I think a lot of that has to do with the pressure that North Melbourne are putting on them. Clearances there in front, 14-10. Centre clearances, they're winning 6-1. So they're going okay there. But it's their inability to just win the loose ground ball. That's the one for me. So I'm saying get harder at that ground ball and then cover those the North Melbourne defenders who are getting the ball far too easily.
North Melbourne take a 26-point lead into the second quarter. Davies-Uniacke tried to get the kick away. Crowd thought he was pushed. Tarrant Thomas over the top of Viney, collected by Salem, who just jammed it on the boot. Wobbly old ball. Goda being tracked by Pickett got the handball away to Phillips, who kicks forward just outside attacking 50. Mark taken again by Ford. Got it to Thomas. Thomas kicks it long. Who can take a mark? Lucky can. He just got himself to the front position. He manoeuvred his body forward and he took a lovely overhead mark. And Larkey, who's kicked 50 goals this year, hasn't got one today, but the kick from Thomas really did get out in front of him. And Larkey to take it out to 32 points. He's going to kick from 20 metres out, almost directly in front, stabs at it and kicks the goal. The Kangaroos keep going here at Bellerive. They get goal number 6. They move to 6-5-41. Melbourne 1-3-9. Are we sniffing something here, boys?
There's a contested mark by Ford that really set that up. Just outmanoeuvred Lever in the one-on-one contest, and again indicative of some of the physical or lack of physicality we've seen from Melbourne today. Ford far too strong, easily took the mark, and again Larkey just getting rid of May in that contest. You don't see that too often from Stephen May, getting out positioned in such a way.
North Melbourne have kicked the last 6 goals of this game. Keziah Pickett opened the account for Melbourne in the 7.5-minute mark of the first term, but since then it's been all blue and white. 6-5-41 the Roos lead. The D's 1-3-9 and they need to get moving. Can Max Gawn get them going? Viney tracks it out of the middle, but Davies-Uniacke gets it to Phillips by hand. Thought about going inside by hand, then had to kick. The scrubbing ball was pretty good. It landed with Thomas. He released Scott on the run from 50. Flying shot on goal. There was some jostling going on in the goal square, but the Melbourne defence gets back and Smith takes the mark and saves the day.
Smith, who can do it forward and do it back, but his kick is chopped off by McDonald. A couple of kicks from goal on the outer side. He's a left footer. McDonald goes into the pocket, sits it up, Ford with another big leap, a little handball over the top. Sparrow, handball to Jordan, now to Langdon. So Langdon kicks to the wing, outer side. Melksham went up early, but then was that managing to mark the ball. Then he's kicked to Pickett. Now Pickett's got no one in front of him. He decides to kick and kicked it out of bounds on the full. Well, he could have tried to run around there, Pickett. He had an open 50 and he couldn't get the job done, and then booted it out of bounds on the full.
So Melbourne with a rare foray forward and a shot on goal, but it's wayward from Pickett as Goda brings things in for North Melbourne. Kicks it 65 metres beyond defensive 50. Off hands, though, only as far as Salem, whose kick inside was no good. Mackay took the mark for North Melbourne. He finds Bailey Scott. Releases Taran Thomas by hand. Low ball now to half forward where Sherry has to get down low. Did so, but was hassled out of it as McVie arrives for the Demons. He's hemmed in here by Ford as he elects to just retreat and play it safe and make the 15-metre kick to Smith.
Really good defending by North Melbourne. There was a turnover on their half-forward line, but Melbourne could not go anywhere because they just set up so quickly.
Smith from the defensive 50, kicks toward a pack. Juggling was Max Gawn, took the mark on the second bye. Turns and goes, has a 2-on-1 here at half-forward. Petrarca floats across and marks in front of Mackay, right in front of the broadcast position. Inside 50 go the Demons. Beautiful kick to Pickett, who found some separation on Goda. Marks on his chest. He'll kick for his second, 30 metres out. Tight-ish angle. He's lining up to go around the body.
Smart play by Pickett. He pointed exactly where he wanted the ball to go. Petrarca kicked it and then he moved into that hole.
So Pickett, around the body he goes. He caught it fat and it sails out of bounds on the full. The Demons just can't get going, and Keziah Pickett blows another chance. And it'll be a North Melbourne footy deep in defence.
Well, the Eddie Ford one makes that one an awful lot better too. On the run in the first quarter with that type of kick. So Sheasel goes out wide. Larkey nudged out of it. May was there. Davies-Uniacke. It ends up with Larkey again. Quick hands. Away they go. Handball over the top. Hansen Jr. really fumbled what he should have taken. It was quite an easy take. Turner back to Simpkin. Simpkin now. High ball. Up they fly. No mark was taken. Umpire said play on. Little handball comes out to Taylor. Taylor to Hansen Jr. Left foot snap is missing. He was only 15 out, Hansen Jr., and he couldn't get the job done.
Melbourne bring it in, and I tell you what, they're lucky that they aren't down by more, because Hansen Jr. missed an absolute soda on that occasion as the crowd rose. Just fluffed his lines. The Demons get out of jail. Viney has it now at left half back. Kicks up the broadcast wing. Core in good position. Spiked it. And it eventually finds its way over the boundary line. 6:42. North Melbourne lead the Demons 1-3-9. Their first and only goal come at the 7.5-minute mark of the first term. They've managed just 3 behind since. So the Demons struggling to pierce the Kangaroos' defence at this stage. Viney off the stoppage, rides a tackle, gave it to Gawn. Now Brayshaw hemmed in against the boundary. Left foot kick around the corner. Van Rooyen met it strongly, couldn't take the mark. It ends up with Mackay of the Roos. Shared it with Scott, who runs his full measure and pierces the ball up the line. Looking for Sherry, couldn't take the mark. It bounced off the fist though and came to Davies-Uniacke. Everything's coming up North Melbourne. Scott gave it to McDonald, who attempted to spread it wide, but that's really, really good getting across from Langdon of the D's, who saves another foray forward. Gave it to Chandler out wide, who was a little indecisive. Eventually, Robert Hansen Jr.'s pressure brought him unstuck, and now a big tackle laid by Tucker. He got his opponent a little high, and it'll be a free kick going the way of the Demons.
But another midfield turnover for the Demons, but they had nowhere to go because the defensive transition from North Melbourne is outstanding.
So inside 50, they go again. Here Melbourne, a one-on-one contest. Van Rooyen and Mackay gets over the back to Goldstein, who just plays sweeper and finds Bailey Scott with the short 15-metre kick. He goes over the top by Hunter Zeeble. Short ball made Curtis Taylor work. He couldn't juggle it. And it goes out of bounds right in front of the commentary position for a boundary throw-in. 6:42 North Melbourne. Lead Melbourne 1-3-9, 7.5 gone. Second turn for Grandstand AFL.
Demons still a little bit hesitant. That's the pressure coming from the Kangaroos. Gawn and Sherry. Sherry knocked it down, but Brayshaw, a little tap down to Viney. Viney gets around Phillips beautifully, then kicks for the left boot, hoists it high, and Petty was there, couldn't take the mark. Here's Pickett, left foot snap, here's a goal. He was in position A, was Keziah Pickett. He kicks his second, and Melbourne's second. They're 2-3-15. They trail the Kangaroos 6-6-42, 8.5 gone, and that's where you want your crumbing forwards, Berkey.
Absolutely you do. He's had 4 shots at goal for 2 goals and 2 out on the full. So it's chocolates or boiled lollies for Pickett. I'm not sure whether Core was unlucky not to get a free kick given to him here. Went up with them. Petty just shoved him in the side, I suppose, so we'll allow that one to continue. But better play from Melbourne. Got the ball in quicker to a really dangerous spot rather than where they have been getting it out wide.
I'm not sure that Viney's been cited too much this game yet. Nice to see his intensity around the contest having an impact.
Back to 27 points. A goal apiece in this second term. It's a wonky old bounce to be recalled by Nick McGuinness.
I was at the game yesterday, which the Essendon West Coast, which is really close towards the end. In the last 4 centre bounces, there was quite a few goals at the end. The umpires just threw the ball up. They didn't risk favouring either side.
Gawn won it down. Brayshaw couldn't bring it under his spell. On hands and knees, Davies-Uniacke got it up to Tucker, but he couldn't elude Petrarca, who wrapped him up in a strong tackle. We're still inside the centre square. Up it goes again. Sherry this time down only as far as Jordan. Inside 50 go the D's once again. Van Rooyen lost his feet. Mackay got back, took the bouncing ball, shared it with Archer. Short ball is good for Bailey Scott, who marks still inside defensive 50. He goes back to Archer. Get to clear here. The Roos. Risky kick across the ground to Zeeble, but it's good enough. He marks on his chest, and he's got a man free at centre wing in Hansen Jr. He gratefully marks and kicks toward half forward. There's a little bit of risk involved in that one too. Simpkin couldn't bring it down. Petrarca, now Brayshaw, handball out to Hunter, had to wait for it. Rode the Tucker tackle, back to Brayshaw. Harms, one way then the other, strong through the core, got rid of Sheasel. His kick though intercepted though by Core as the Demons continue to struggle to find a mark inside 50.
Generally this Kangaroo defence is holding up under a little bit of extra pressure in this quarter coming from Melbourne. They've got a goal, so spreading it out wide. McDonald's got the mark on the outer side, just outside his defensive 50, kicks long down the wing. Goldstein, oh yes, paid the mark, just held on long enough. Goldstein goes with a handball to Taylor. Taylor's kick smothered. Goldstein has got to fix up his mess for him. Oh, Phillips just slipped when he was kicking. Petty put the handball away to Brayshaw. Now back to Petty. Petty wants another handball to Pickett. Pickett sells the dummy and then goes to Van Rooyen, who's got plenty of space. Will the ball just set up for him? It does. He's just outside 50, wants to square it up, and it's okay. He's got Pickett. Pickett is just outside his attacking 50. Off a step, Petty just lopes to the pocket and takes the mark in front of Mackay. Booted 6 last week, Harrison Petty, and he hasn't been able to nail one today.
We haven't seen a transition like that from Melbourne so far today. Slick hands through the middle part of the ground. They've got their running game going. They're a little bit sloppy with their feet.
Harrison Petty, we've got a wonderful view of it. He's about 40 metres out on an acute angle, really. Can see plenty of the goal, though. Petty sets it up. That is class from Petty. Melbourne get another. They move to 3-3-21. The Kangaroos 6-6-42. Back to 21 points. Petty's got his first. And that was pure, Brad Sewell.
We were right behind it, weren't we? And it didn't deviate. It looked like somebody in the grandstand was just giving him some advice over the fence too, because he was quick to turn around, just let them know that it's a straight kick.
It's the first time in the game so far we've seen North Melbourne struggle to get the ball from one end of the ground to the other. It's been chopped over in the middle 3 or 4 times now, and I think that's testament to Melbourne really upping their defensive intensity and not allowing free plays through the middle of the ground. And if they keep turning it over and going forward, well, they're good enough to score, but it all starts with that defensive intensity.
Margin back to 21 points, and it's the first time Melbourne have kicked back-to-back goals in this game, and they'll get it again here out of the centre as Jack Viney is awarded a free kick. Darren Thomas just held on to the jumper. Inside 50 they go again. Gawn got back, stood in the hole, couldn't take the mark. Sheasel couldn't quite get boot to ball, dragged off his kick. It came out to Core. He clears the defensive area. He's got a one-on-one up the line. Lever did well on forward. Bowie arrived and took the loose ball, was tackled. Did well to get it to Thomas, who's trying to scramble away from Lever. Got a handball out in front of forward. Fed Turner on the way past. His kick into the pocket was misguided. Salem swoops past and takes it on the bounce, but his kick is smothered over the boundary line by Turner, who butted up really, really well after missing the initial kick inside 50.
There's a poor kick inside 50 by Turner. He tried to spot somebody on the boundary line. You've got Larkey and May one-on-one in the square. At least give the big fella an opportunity and go to him rather than the pocket.
Boundary throw in it comes. Sherry wins it down, palms it in front of Turner. Handball in front of Davies Uniacke. Got it back out to Sherry. Thought about pumping it long, thought better of it. Back to Phillips, who kicks to the top of the goal square. Stevenson over the top, couldn't reel it in. At ground level, Curtis. A pair of Demons wrap him up and bring him to ground. We'll have a ball up 15 metres out from goal for the Roos. 6-6-42 North Melbourne. They lead by 21 points, 14 and a half gone. Ball up, sharked by Stevenson, flying shot on goal off the left boot. It floats through for a minor score. 22 points the margin now. 6-7-43 North Melbourne. The D's 3-3-21. 14 and a half gone. Second term for Grandstand AFL.
Hasn't had much of it, Stevenson, so far, and he's the type of player that can really turn it on quick. So 22 points the margin. 6-7-43 to 3-3-21. May goes short and finds Rivers. Rivers gives the handball back to May, who continued to run, and then May's turned it over. laconic kick from May, and Taylor's got it. He's a couple of kicks from goal. He's going to hoist it up high. Who can take a mark? Up they fly. May with a big thump down. Rove well by Sparrow. Handball wasn't all that flash. In comes Taylor. He dropped the footy as he was going through. Kicked off the ground by Simpkin. Little handball back to Simpkin. Simpkin's just knocked off the kick. Might work out okay. Scott got it back to Phillips. Standing start. Phillips loads up. Long kick will be marked by Smith. No, not paid. Well, he basically had his hands up in the air. Ball kicked off the ground. And it could be a goal, it is. And it's Larkey. Larkey gets his second. And the Kangaroos make something out of nothing. Smith thought he had the mark, put his hands in the air after the ball dropped to the ground. That just allowed Larkey to come in and kick it off the ground for a goal.
Yeah, I think you'd probably play a mark sort of maybe 9 times out of 10 there. I think it was Curtis.
I think it was Curtis. I thought it was Larkey.
Yeah, Larkey dived on it to keep the ball alive and just bobbed out and Curtis put it through. I'm okay with not playing that a mark. It's an uncontested mark in the goal square. It's not wet. It's not slippery. Catch it all the way down. And if you don't, well then play on. It's good for the game too.
So North Melbourne hit back via the outstretched toe of Paul Curtis. They maybe got a little bit lucky, but they'll take whatever they can get. Back in the middle, Phillips wraps up a Brayshaw right on the bullseye. Will have another ball up. Up it goes as Sherry does the ruck work against Van Rooyen. Congested. Phillips once again at ground level. It's all locked in. Umpire says play on as it spills out the back to Salem, and he finds Hunter running back with the flight as he spread it wide. There's a chance here for Hunter. Just forward of a wing. Inside 50 go the Demons. Fist at the back from McDonald. Dangerous ball at the back of the pack. Oh, and Alex Neil-Bullen repays the favour with a toe poke of his own. Tracking back to the goal line, and Neil-Bullen just poked it through. And Melbourne hit back immediately. 4-3-27 the D's. They trail North Melbourne 7-7-49, and Alex Neil-Bullen says to Paul Curtis, anything you can do, I can do better. 17.5 minutes gone. Second term for grandstand AFL Brad Sewell.
No, it's frustrating for the Kangaroos. They've done a power of hard work and just coughed it up in the goal square.
Well, it was Darcy Tucker, just couldn't
bodyline the ball, just couldn't keep the ball in front of him and take it over the goal line. And unfortunately, it's not the right spot. You want to be overrunning the ball like that.
Yes, his body was taken and lost his footing, and Neil-Bullen was quick to pounce, and that's what those little crumbing small forwards, they sniff goals. Another bad bounce by the umpire, but he says, I'm just letting that one go. Why didn't he call that one back? Taken by Thomas. Simpkin away to Tucker. Tucker now, left foot, long kick, and it'll be chopped off by the intercepting king in Lever. Defensive forward pocket. That ball at the bounce in the centre just went at right angles and he just let it go. He must be sick of recalling it. Here's Brayshaw now with a handball to Petrarca. Melbourne look like they've got their running game going at the moment. Nice kick by Petrarca to Chandler, who tries to get it to Petty, who fell over. Mackay, hands and knees stuff, got it back to Tucker. Tucker now to Zeeble. They're on the outer side wing. Zeeble goes down the line, and there he is again. Jake Lever taking the mark on the wing.
Yeah, good 30 seconds for Jake Lever, who sets Melbourne up. The kick isn't great though. Petrarca had to shrug a tackle. Now Chandler, 75 from goal. Pumps the D's inside 50. One-on-one between Harms and Zeeble. A couple of tough nuts. Mackay lends support. Got the handball to Zeeble. Kicked it round the corner. He rushed it and he hit Langdon on the chest. He goes inside and he spots up a target in Chandler, who kicked for goal for the D's. 45 metres out, 45-degree angle.
Feels like momentum's just swinging back Melbourne's way these last couple of minutes. Their intensity around the ball, they're winning a few one-on-one contests. Lever's starting to get more involved.
So Chandler involved and has a chance to kick the D's fourth of the term and his first of the afternoon. He ambles on in from just inside 50, lets fly, looks pretty good off the boot, and it is pretty good off the boot. So Cade Chandler kicks his first of the day, and the Demons have back-to-back goals And they reel in this margin once again. North Melbourne 7-7-49. At ease 5-3-33. 20 and a half gone, second term grandstand AFL. Nathan Burke.
Again, it's Melbourne's ability to win the ball back through the middle of the ground. That time it was Lever pushing really high, taking an intercept mark, and then Petrarca, who's getting himself more involved in the play than what he was in that first quarter. The midfielders, Brayshaw's had a fair bit of footy, Viney coming into play, but it was just that squashing the ground up, making the North Melbourne defenders just sort of hurriedly get the ball back out, whereas in the first quarter they could run it out really neatly, but now they've just got to bomb it back out, and it came back straight back in. That time it was Zeeble trying to invent something coming out of there and hit up his Melbourne opponent.
4 straight to 2-2 in this quarter in favour of Melbourne from the bounce. It ends up with Simpkin. Simpkin drives long, no mark, ball hit to ground. Larkey's there. Nicely done by McVee. Handball away to Hunter. Now back to McVee. Oh, a little fumble there. Oh, you Hunter again. Lever this time. Collects the handball. Knocked off the kick. Gawn's got to come in and clean it up. Did well. Got a loose handball back to Scott. Scott just of a standing start. Just kicks a high ball. Larkey can't mark, and Gawn over the back takes a towering mark. And Big Maxi, he knows things are in trouble, and he goes short and finds Bowie.
Bowie will go laterally. Well, he's muffed the kick. It ends up with Larkey. Standing start from 45. Just offline for Larkey, who couldn't quite capitalise on the Bowie mistake. And there's a player down, and it might be Bowie, it is. As he just gingerly emerges to his feet, pardon the pun.
He dived in for the smother after he made the mistake and caught one in the midriff.
Stephen May scans ahead as he just ambles out of fullback and resumes things for the Demons. He kicks beyond defensive 50. Goldstein stood tall for North Melbourne and took the defensive mark. He wheels around onto his left boot. Long ball inside 50 for the Roos. Getting across was Sparrow, unable to take the mark. Wrapped up was Viney by Stevenson. We'll have a ball up 45 metres out from North Melbourne's goal.
Can the Kangas keep the foot down from the ball up? Scramble of players. It's still inside North Melbourne's forward 50, about 35 metres from their goal. And another ball up.
They've gone back to just bombing the ball inside 50, and it's not working for them. They've got to start being a bit more creative and find some loose targets.
Larkey did the ruck work there. Picked up by Viney. Just a loose kick outside of 50. Scott fell over. Goldstein trying to track this ball with Neil Bullen, collected it. Oh, a lovely tackle by Archer. Gee, we've seen that before from an Archer. Here's Scott. Scott, a little wobbling ball to Taylor, who can't keep it in play. It'll be a ball in, but he was like a rabbit hunting, wasn't he?
Exactly. The old man will be up out of the stands going, "That's my boy." You could just tell he was the one who wanted the tackle. He didn't want the ball. He wanted Melbourne player to pick it up so he could nail him.
Certainly. Boundary throw in. And Goldstein got the knockdown off beautifully down to Thomas. Thomas is right on 50, loads up, a brilliant right foot goal, is it? We're going to get a review.
No, the umpire's paid a free for a push on the goal line.
Yeah, that should be nice to see whether that was a goal on review. Yeah. But Thomas from there, from right on the boundary basically, and a free kick to the Demons.
Well, it would have been some finish, wouldn't it? Tied up against the boundary from 48 metres, Starrin Thomas. That's just a little taste of what he can do. He's up and about. The Demons have the footy inside defensive 50.
Getting better as each game goes, Tarrant Thomas, isn't he?
Lockie Hunter progresses things towards the broadcast wing. There's some holding off the ball here. It'll go North Melbourne's way. Goldstein was shoved out of it by Petty, and this could be a big moment. Goldstein will be marched inside 50 here.
I don't know what the 50 was for. Petty gave Goldstein a couple of bumps, but they were just bumps. Unless he said something as well, I'm not too sure, but certainly just a couple of bumps while Goldstein was waiting for the ball to be returned to him wasn't enough for a 50.
So Goldstein will have a shot on goal here. He'll line up from just outside 50, but by the time he kicks it, he'll be well and truly inside, just to extend the margin as the Demons were coming. Left foot ball on its way. He's good. And Todd Goldstein capitalises on a little bit of luck. The Demons extend the lead. 8:56 North Melbourne. The Demons 5-3, 33, 25 and a half gone. Second term for Grandstand AFLs. We just have a look at the replay of the Thomas attempt on goal. And gee, it was close. It would have been some finish. And that was the little jab from Petty on the way past that gave away the 50. So unnecessary and undisciplined play from the Demons. Goldstein capitalises and kicks his second of the afternoon.
Just sucked in enough Goldstein there, didn't he? Bit of experience.
8:56 to 5:3:33. North Melbourne by 23. Goldstein second. Good bounce this time by the umpire. Goldstein won the tap. Shark by Harms. Sparrow over the top. His running mate in Viney. Viney gets it out in front. And chipping in is Chandler. Well, they were all on the lead there, and Chandler just ducked in from the side and took the mark, and he'll kick from 47 metres out on a slight angle. Not the right side for a left footer, but we know he's got a good leg on him, this young bloke. One of those real up-and-coming crumbing forwards in the competition. Cade Chandler. Zeeble stands the mark. Lead comes from Pickett, but Chandler's on the runway. Here we go. Get some elevation with it. That is drawing back magnificently. He likes it. His teammates like it. And Melbourne, well, they won't go away. No doubt about that, but they reduce it back to 17 points. 6-3-39 Melbourne. The Kangaroos 8-8-56, 27 minutes gone in the second term.
Again, terrific finish in front of goal. Becomes a really important couple of minutes here leading into half-time. All the hard work the Kangaroos have done just seems to be evaporating slightly. If the D's can jag another one late, they run in with their tails up.
So North Melbourne led by 26 points at quarter time. They led by as many as 33 at 1 point. But slowly but surely, Melbourne just clawing them back. 5-3 in this second term. The cream beginning to rise. Back in the middle we go. Gawn and Goldstein. Gawn won it down. Viney will get first look, but it was stolen from him by Davies-Uniacke, who released Curtis by hand. Little 1-2 with Davies-Uniacke. He tried to take on Salem, but he couldn't take on Hunter as well. He was stripped of the footy. It went out to Viney. He put it out in front of Harms, who was mowed down from behind by Phillips. He knocks it out of bounds for a boundary throw-in just forward of a wing. North Melbourne attack inside.
One too many handballs there, wasn't it? Just, you could read it. You could read that it was going to happen.
In it comes. Goldstein and Gawn, two of the veteran rucks of this competition. Gawn tried to hack it out of mid-air, couldn't get Boots a ball. It came out to Hunter, who fed Salem. Little ball out wide to Viney, who had to go and find it. He did. He was held as he got rid of the handball. Off to Harms, whose kick is a shocker up the line. The dinky little left foot ball out of bounds on the full. And Mackay brings it in to Zeeble.
Zeeble wants to switch to the outer side. And he does that successfully to Goda. Goda goes to the wing. It's okay, and Tucker is on the outer side.
Got the overlap to Kangaroos, they can find it on the far side.
Tucker almost falls over and stumbles and then gets himself off balance, and his left footer just fires itself out of bounds on the full. Not a good play from Tucker. And May on the wing, on the outer side. Now he's got to give it back to Smith. So Smith must have been trying to dart back into defence. But Smith's got it. Plays on. Kicks to half forward. Up they fly Melksham. Rove beautifully by Petrarca. Gave it to Pickett. Pickett's caught. Spun in the tackle. Then somehow, like Houdini, got away. The handball away to Melksham. Melksham wants to square it up. Goldstein's got to get back. Ball thumped close to the line by Taylor. And fortuitously, it ends up rolling through. Not like the one we saw with Tucker earlier in the quarter, but they get it behind. So 6-4-40 plays 8-8-56. We've gone almost 30 minutes second term.
Zeeble brought it into Goda, who clears defensive 50 out towards the outer wing, offhand. Turner went through a boot at it, slipped over in the process, and the D's will come up with it. But Jackson Archer had other ideas. Picked off the handball, and now North Melbourne go forward. Off hands, Bowie, tackled by Turner. Smith was there. Sparrow goes after it, shovels it up to McVee. He uses Langdon, back to McVee. Sparrow sprung to his feet, received a handball and got it off to Jordan. Outer side here, the Demons. His kick is a good one to Melksham. Inside 50 goes Melksham. Big work to do for Zeeble. Pickett stayed down off the contest, rove the footy, spun inside, then outside. A 360 around the body. Cozzy Pickett, some absolute class. Cozzy Pickett puts the cherry on top of a wonderful bit of play. Kicks his third. And Melbourne really starting to get going now. North Melbourne 8-8-56. Melbourne 7-4-46. The margin 10 points. 31 minutes gone. Second term for Grandstand AFL. Brad Sewell.
Berkey, I'm sure you can sympathise with Jack Zeeble there. One out, running back towards goal against Pickett. That's not where the veteran wants to find himself.
No, not at all. I'm just trying to count how many circles and blind turns he did. So poor old Jack went around, sat in his backside from the first circle, but managed to get up and attempt to smother it. But he's putting on a bit of a clinic in front of goals here, is young Cozzy. That's 3 for the game.
Commentator's dream, beautifully called by Chris Rowbottom. The snap. It's only 10 points the difference now. It's as close as North Melbourne have been for, I guess, since the first quarter. In fact, the closest Melbourne have been since the first quarter. Here's Viney from the second ball up, and he can't get past Thomas. And another ball up. Almost 32 minutes gone. First quarter went 34. They're long quarters here. Gawn knocks it down, snagged by Simpkin. Gee, the Roos would love another one. Here's Thomas. A little handball away to Stevenson. Stevenson from 35. Kick was smothered. That's been Jaden Stevenson's day. And Smith grabs the crumbs and boots it long. And Sherry's got to take the mark. But Max Gawn came from nowhere. Oh, the Demons might get another here. Harms a little handball away. Little short little kick to Van Rooyen. It's beautifully done. And Van Rooyen got it from Jordan, and he'll kick from 45 metres out directly in front.
Stevens missed opportunity. He just took a couple of steps too many in front of goal, allowing the Melbourne defender to get across and smother.
I reckon that North Melbourne coach's box would be fuming at the moment. 10 points to take it back to 4 points. They haven't been this close since the 8-minute mark of the first. Van Rooyen kicks a goal. What a way for the Demons to finish the first half, and they only trail by 4 points. Big quarter by the D's. Kangaroos 8-8-56. Melbourne 8-4-52 as both teams get together and walk off this ground. What a quarter. 8 goals by the Demons in that term. They're back. 56 plays 52.
Yeah, we'll go through the goal kickers for both sides. Eddie Ford for North Melbourne. Eddie Ford has 3. Goldstein with 2. Larky, Curtis, Scott with singles. But that quarter belonged to Cozzy Pickett. He added 2 to go with his 1 goal in the first quarter. He has 3 for the Demons. Cade Chandler kicked a couple as well. Van Rooyen, Neil Bullen, Harrison Petty, all with singles for the Demons, who trail by just 4 points at the major break after trailing by 26 the quarter time siren, and the Demons came roaring back. Brad Sewell.
They certainly did. It took them a little while to get their game going, but it felt like there was a sense of inevitability in terms of it just being a matter of time. Petrarca started to get more involved. Max Gawn had more of an influence around the ground. Viney, we saw flashes of his intensity and influence around the contest, but it was their ball movement going inside 50 which appeared to be the difference, and Pickett certainly certainly being a huge result of that. Berkey.
Yeah, marks inside 50. North Melbourne took 4-0 in that first quarter. In the second quarter, Melbourne took 6 to North Melbourne's 0. So I think that sort of tells the tale of the dominance of each forward line. And six marks to none. And a lot of that came from Melbourne being able to move the ball quicker through the middle of the ground to loose or an open forward line. Whereas North Melbourne resorted back to, we're just going to bomb the ball high in the air and hope that one of our big fellas marks the ball. They're picking out smaller players and aiming for them, just pretty much went out the window, and it was just a case of this just banging in there, and as we know, that plays into Melbourne's hands. So those marks inside 50 really tell a tale. But I think Melbourne really upped their defensive intensity around the ground, won the ball back through the middle of the ground, and then had repeat entries inside their forward 50, which is something that they just couldn't do in that first quarter. Certainly North Melbourne's desire and intent didn't drop off. They were working as hard as they absolutely did in that first quarter, but I think Melbourne just matched that intensity, and in the end their game style and their probably skill levels really rose to the fore. Although North Melbourne, they're scoring at 50% of inside 50s, which is a really good clip, but I reckon if they just were a lot smarter going inside 50, they could even rise that up even more. But they got a little bit more level pegging around the clearances, which Melbourne won in that first quarter. So really, even though they had a bigger lead, 33 points, now it's back to 4, they still should go inside at halftime with a real firm mindset of, hey, if we play this way, well then we're going to stay in this game and can potentially pinch it. Whereas Melbourne, I think it's just all about effort. They've got to bring the effort, and then who knows what will happen after that.
It was an entertaining second term, but one that Melbourne dominated with 7 goals to 3. They trailed by 26 points at quarter time. The margin was as many as 33 points during that second term, but they've reeled it all the way back in to just 4 points. North Melbourne still lead this one though, 8-8-56 the Roos to the Demons 8-4-52. North Melbourne hoping to snap a 17-game winning streak. The D's hoping to win a 5th consecutive game and maybe, just maybe, leapfrog Port Adelaide into top 2 on the AFL ladder. An entertaining first half of footy from here in Hobart. We're going to take a short break and head to the ABC newsroom.
ABC News with Satyam Weinstein. 5 children remain unaccounted for after a fire on Russell Island off the southeast Queensland coast. 3 houses were involved in the blaze, with multiple fire crews on the scene since around 6:30 this morning. Police have confirmed the body of a 34-year-old man has been found. 5 boys who were also in the house, aged 11, 10, 4-year-old twins and a 3-year-old, are missing. Queensland opposition leader David Crisafulli says news of the fire has been deeply troubling.
And these are the kinds of communities where everyone knows everyone, and it's a place where people matter. And in tight-knit communities, these incidents rock really, really hard.
Victorian Labor MP Will Fowles has strenuously denied an assault allegation which has been referred to Victoria Police by the state government. Beth Gibson reports.
The Victorian government referred the alleged assault to police last night. In a statement, Mr Fowles says he was shocked and distressed to learn about the allegation and says there was no assault. He says he will stand down as a member of the Parliamentary Labor Party, but expects that to be temporary, and he'll cooperate with any process or inquiries. He says he'll remain a member of Parliament and the Australian Labor Party. The police say the alleged victim, who doesn't want to be identified, has not made an official complaint.
Niger's ousted Prime Minister Mohamed Bazoum says he's hopeful of being returned to power by diplomatic means. It come after Niger's military seized control last week in a coup. The regional West African diplomatic bloc, ECOWAS, has given the military junta until today to hand back power. The bloc's considering military action, including a ground invasion or a counter-coup. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says a Russian bomb has hit a medical facility in the Kharkiv region. He says a glide bomb hit a blood transfusion center in the town of Kupiansk. Mr. Zelensky says rescuers are still trying to put out a fire at the site, and the attack is a war crime. U.S. prosecutors have asked a judge to limit what Donald Trump can say about his election fraud case after he posted a threatening message on social media. As the BBC's Sean Dilley reports, Mr. Trump wrote, "If you go after me, I'm coming for you."
The judge made it very clear as far as the terms of release are concerned that if he, for example, were to intimidate witnesses, that in itself would be a crime. He was asked to say that he understood that. He said he did understand it. There's always going to be that discussion as to what protection he's entitled to under the First Amendment to the Constitution, which is the right to free speech. But again, what's at stake here, argue the prosecutors, is it's not necessarily the words, it's what is the intent of those words, and is it calling anybody to action? Is it intimidating witnesses? Is it going to interfere with the due process of law?
Homicide squad detectives are investigating after 3 people died from suspected mushroom poisoning in Victoria's East. Mary McDonald has the details.
4 people were taken to hospital at the end of last month after they became ill following a meal at a private home in Leongatha the previous day. 2 Korumburra women, aged 66 and 70, died on Friday, while a third person, a 70-year-old Korumburra man, died in hospital last night. A 68-year-old Korumburra man remains in hospital in a critical condition. Investigators searched a home in Leongatha yesterday. Detectives also interviewed a 48-year-old Leongatha woman who was released pending further inquiries. The investigation surrounding the exact circumstances of the incident continues, and police are also liaising with the health department.
A magnitude 5.6 earthquake has hit Western Australia. The quake struck at about 5:30 this morning, just northeast of the town of Nwangarup, about 150 kilometres north of Albany on the state's south coast. Hundreds of reports from residents who felt the quake were recorded from as far away as Perth, Kalgoorlie and Bunbury. Nwangarup resident Ian Bailey says the tremor woke him up.
I woke up to a bit of a bang and everything was shaking. So the house was quite noisy. I could hear the doors rattling back and forward. The shaking probably went on for about 30 seconds or so. And then when it stopped, I could hear a car alarm going off in the distance.
Archaeologists working in the ancient Italian city of Pompeii say they've unearthed a fresco depicting the ancestor of the modern-day pizza. Researchers say they've recently uncovered new evidence of life in the city before it was destroyed by a volcanic eruption. They found a number of skeletons, an oven, a shrine, and a number of previously unseen frescoes. One still life depicts what appears to be a pizza on a plate, while just a few metres away there was a large, well-preserved oven. You're up to date with the latest from ABC News.
What's the best thing in the world that's also on the ABC Listen app? The footy! This season, get your footy live and ad-free on the ABC Listen app. AFL, NRL, men's, women's. Whatever you fix, we've got you covered.
She's got it! Bye-bye! See you later!
Every goal, try, mark and tackle. Called by ABC Sports' expert commentary team.
Set, bingo!
AFL and NRL, live and ad-free. Get it on the ABC Listen app.
Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
Viney gets around Phillips beautifully, then kicks with the left boot, hoists it high, and Penny was there, couldn't take the mark. Here's Pickett, left foot snap, here's a goal.
Dangerous ball at the back of the pack. Oh, and Alex Neil-Bullen repays the favour with a toe poke of his own. Tracking back to the goal line. And Neil-Bullen just poked it through.
It's frustrating for the Kangaroos. They've done a power of hard work and just coughed it up in the goal square.
Inside 50 goes Milksham. Big work to do for Zeeble. Pickett stayed down off the contest, rode the footy, spun inside, then outside. A 360 around the body. Cozzy Pickett, some absolute class. Cozzy Pickett puts the cherry on top of a wonderful bit of play. Kicks his third.
Demons might get another here. Harmed, a little handball away. Little short little kick to Van Ryan. Is beautifully done. Kicks. A goal. What a way for the Demons to finish the first half. And they only trail by 4 points.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Well, it was the first half of 2 halves here in Hobart. North Melbourne kicked the first 5 of the first 6 goals to lead by 26 points over Melbourne at quarter time before the D's steamroller really got going. They kicked 7 goals to 3 in the second quarter to trail by just 4 points at half-time. 8-8-56 North Melbourne to the D's 8-4-52 as we prepare to call a big second half from here at Bellerive in Hobart. North Melbourne hoping to snap a 17-game losing streak. They, of course, welcome Alistair Clarkson back into the coach's box this afternoon. The D's looking to string together 5 in a row, and they have top 2 spot on the AFL ladder firmly in their sights. An entertaining first half of football. A quick reminder before we kick off the second half here in Hobart. At the end of this game, you'll be off to Freo and Brisbane. We'll have a full post-game for you here at Bellerive, though. Some news from around the AFL world, though. If you haven't caught wind of this, big ramifications for the Collingwood Football Club. Nick Dacos has suffered a hairline fracture in his knee, and he's set to miss the next 6 weeks for the Pies. So a dirty day for Collingwood yesterday. They lost by 32 points at the hands of Hawthorn, and they'll lose their star prodigy player, Nick Dacos, for the next 6 weeks with a hairline fracture in his knee. Right here and now, though, it is North Melbourne and Melbourne in front of a pretty healthy crowd here in Hobart, it has to be said. In North Melbourne, the question for the Roos, Nathan Burke, is can they hang on? 4 points to the good at the major break. What do they need to keep doing in order to score one of the upsets of 2023?
First of all, they can't drop off the intensity. That has to stay at almost fever pitch for this whole game, because the game style of Melbourne and the skills of Melbourne, as soon as you give them an opening, they'll take it and they'll score very quickly and heavily. So need to keep that pressure up. But I like to say they're getting the ball inside 50 enough. It's just not being content with just banging it in there and hopefully we take a big specky or it just lands in the lap of a crummer. A little bit more craft getting the ball inside 50. Lower the eyes, hit up some targets, even if they have to go wide to find those free players and then bring the ball back inside 50. They did that well in that first quarter, but they need to do it again in this quarter, because just bombing the ball in, we saw Lever and May start to take some contested marks and intercept marks that really then set up Melbourne's forays forward. So yeah, a lot smarter going inside 50 for me is the thing that North Melbourne need to change, but they need to keep their intensity.
There's been plenty made of the North Melbourne defence across the first 17 or 18 weeks of this season, and in particular the captain Luke McDonald and Jack Zeeble, who has found himself out of the team the last couple of weeks, starting as the sub. He's announced his retirement recently. He will finish up at the end of the year, but he's back in the 22 this afternoon and has been exceptional. 17 disposals, he's taken 9 marks, and he's been involved in some big defensive plays. Luke McDonald, there's been plenty of scrutiny on him. We know he's conceded 41 goals this season, the equals second most by any player in the league. But so far, the North Melbourne defence has been able to keep Melbourne to just 8 goals and a half, Brad Sewell, which has to be something that Alistair Clarkson would be very pleased about.
Yeah, definitely. And to that point, part of the success of the defence today has been the midfield pressure that the Kangaroos have applied throughout the middle part of the ground, because that's disallowed any easy transition for Melbourne. And we saw glimpses during that second quarter where from the half-back line, Melbourne got their running game going. They chained handballs. They got space in behind the Kangaroo defence, and invariably that led to scoreboard pressure. But when the Kangaroos midfielders and when the Kangaroo forward line can apply that pressure in transition, it just means for slower transition, and it means that Melbourne don't get those easy looks they might be accustomed to.
Yeah, and some of the tail in the tape is around some of the numbers as well with the major ball winners. And for North Melbourne, it's a pair of the in and under type midfielders in Davies Uniacke and Jai Simpkin with 15 apiece, whereas for Melbourne, it's the more outside runners with Lockie Hunter with 16. James Jordan has 12, while Jack Viney and Petrarca only have the 12 each. So it suggests off the numbers, if you weren't watching the game, that North Melbourne are winning inside, but perhaps Melbourne are just getting them on the outside.
Yeah, you can absolutely say that. And I think Bailey Scott is another one for North Melbourne who's having a pretty good game. He just breaks things open when he gets the ball. He runs with it and he makes things happen. Taron Thomas has done some good things, unlucky not to get a really impressive goal. Eddie Ford, who kicked 3 in the first quarter, pretty much unsighted in that quarter. I can't remember us calling him at all. So he's gone from a high to a pretty big low. So whether he can recapture that first quarter form. But it's going to take a team effort. They cannot rely on Simpkin. They can't rely on Davies-Uniacke to really dominate this game, especially against the Melbourne midfielders, because they're going to get a heap of the footy as well, and it's asking a bit much for those two guys to dominate the likes of Brayshaw and Viney and Petrarca, those guys in the middle. So it's those outside runners, those outside players for North Melbourne who really need to not just have good games, but beat their opponent and have really good games, because that's what it takes to beat a top team. You need a really good team effort, and some of those outside people from North Melbourne have probably got a little bit of improvement in them.
So the players back out on the ground in their huddles, just about ready to go. North Melbourne lead Melbourne by 4 points, 8-8-56 to the D's 8-4-52. It's the first of 3 games, of course, here on the ABC this afternoon at 3:20. St Kilda taking on Carlton. That'll be a really interesting clash at Nathan Burke before the Dockers and Lions clash over in Perth at 4:40, and that's where you'll be headed directly after all the post-game from here in Hobart. But just about all set to get back underway for what should be an entertaining second half. As I mentioned, it's been a game of spurts, really. North Melbourne kicked 5 of the first 6, including 5 in a row. Well, they kicked 6 in a row from the first term going into the first goal of the second term before Melbourne hit back with 7 goals to 3 in the second term. Keziah Pickett, for me, has probably been the difference, Michael Maney, and he's an exciting player, and you just sense that any time the ball goes near him, something's about to happen.
Makes something out of nothing. Gets to good positions in that forward line, rows beautifully, and finishes pretty well. And he is a player that just hasn't even reached his full potential yet, and that's a scary thing to say. He's a wonderful player, and he'll play a role in this second half. It was North by 26 at quarter time, and they've had it peeled back to 4 points at half time, that lead, as we wait for the start of the third term here at Bellerive.
Goldstein and Gawn has been interesting. I think Gorney has similar possessions, but Goldstein has those 2 goals under his name, so probably going to have to give the points to him at this point.
They fought out an absolute epic at this ground a few years ago, Goldstein and Gawn. I reckon they had 55 hit-outs apiece in the wind, and it was one of those really good old-fashioned ruck duels. So they do have some history and some form here at Bellerive, but they have been fascinating to watch this afternoon as well. So siren sounds, ball is held aloft. We're all ready to go here for a big second half at Bellerive. North Melbourne and Melbourne with the Roos up by 4 points. Out of the middle goes Christian Petrarca from the get-go. Tumbles one inside 50 for the D's. At ground level, Zeeble wins another possession, only as far as Petty, though. Got it. That's a Neil Bullen. Gets onto the left boot. Nobody home, though. His kick is chopped off by Tucker inside the defensive 50, and he spreads it wide, but it's chopped off. Kicks it straight down the throat of Stephen May on the outer wing.
May, a long way from goal. Just a little left foot. Oh, good mark, Viney. Set himself beautifully. Got in between a few North Melbourne players there, and in the end it was pretty much uncontested, and Viney will shoot from right on the paint of 50 at goal.
Tucker's kicking coming out of that half-back line today has probably left a fair bit to be desired. He's missed a few targets, kicked a couple out on the full, and that one was just no need. He just kicked it straight to the Melbourne defender.
Melbourne haven't led since, I think, about the 7-minute mark of the first term. So here's Viney. Kick's not quite going to get there. Goldstein comes with a big fist toward the line. Running in is Hunter. Then got the handball away to Petty, who couldn't pick it up. In comes Langdon. Neil Bullen. A lot of players around this footy. McDonald. His handball was for Davies-Uniacke. And whether that was experience or not, but he's found the line. It'll be a boundary throw-in. Tight squeeze down there in the back pocket.
There's a lot of players down there. North making sure that there's no space for those Pickett-type players.
It's a deep in attack for Melbourne, who would love the opening goal of this second half and to snatch back the lead. Brayshaw just fumbled it. Jordan got it up to Petrarca. He was nailed in the tackle. You don't see that too often. Kane Turner got him. And he is awarded a free kick for holding the ball. Inside defensive 50 still here, the Roos. He concedes some ground back to Mackay, who's a little unsure. He lopes along, takes a couple of bounces and eventually spies something he likes short in Jackson Archer, who takes the mark, still inside defensive 50. So Jackson Archer with the job on Cozzy Pickett in this second half by the looks of things. He sends things towards the outer wing, but Stephen May positions himself well once again and takes another uncontested mark. So that's twice now for the Kangaroos that Stephen May has picked off an offensive foray. And he goes inside 50 for North Melbourne. On the lead was Petty. A drilling ball inside 50 from Stephen May, and Petty marks in front of his eyes. 58 metres out from goal, and a genuine chance here to put the D's in front.
The Kangaroos just have to be better coming out of their back half. Playing right into the hands of Stephen May and Lever.
So Harrison Petty, who was a revelation last week, the swing man, he went forward, kicked 6 against the Tigers and was the difference in that 32-point win at the MCG. He has 1 for this afternoon and steps inside 50 to get Melbourne off to the perfect start in the second half. It's across the face. Bailey Scott comes across and spikes it over the line for a minor score. So they add to the tally, but just the 1 for the D's.
So North Melbourne try to work it out of their half-back line. Turner close to the boundary line at half-back. Just went the underground handball to Simpkin, and Simpkin couldn't get on the end of it, but good pressure by Neil Bullen again. So you just get the feeling that Melbourne's pressure rating has gone up. And has gone up a lot, forcing North Melbourne into mistakes. Boundary throw in. Goldstein reaches over the top of Gawn, knocks it down. Brayshaw tackled by Simpkin over the line, and he'd like his treatment, did Angus. There wasn't much in that. They just continue the push and shove, and Viney gets in the middle of it. So play goes on. Boundary throw in. Goldstein down. Petrarca got the handball away. Look for Jordan. Jordan's handball back to Viney. Just little quick hands. Gone. Now getting on the end of it again is Jordan. He just kicks it inside 50, but the kick wasn't the best, and he's been a rock of Gibraltar, as they say down there, Jack Zeeble, and he takes the mark in his defensive 50 and then feeds to Archer, who has done some really good things this afternoon. Jackson Archer kicks out wide. This time gets it okay to Sheasel. Sheasel from half-back. Now this kick's been the critical one. They've muffed it. McVie knocks it away from behind. Now taken by Hunter, about to get mown down. Hunter's kick.
Downfield.
Yeah, it's downfield. It is. It was really loopy ball, and Sheasel took the mark, but now the free kick will go to Viney. He's just outside his attacking 50. He goes into the pocket, and Archer just floats across. And got a nice block, did Archer there as well. And then he chips to Zeeble, who switches play to this side of the ground.
Zeeble, last line of defence. He went to Core, who had to go back to Zeeble. Now Zeeble has to just slightly rush things and send it beyond defensive 50, but luckily for North Melbourne, Goldstein stood tall and took a strong mark over Max Gawn. He progresses things up the near wing, but it's a shocking kick, and Sparrow gets in the way and takes the defensive mark for Melbourne. He goes in the Gawn direction, hits him at right half forward, spins now, lopes along for 5 metres and sends a ball into a dangerous position. Zeeble, well, he was underneath it. Petty flew across, couldn't take the mark as Archer sees it over the line for a minor score. So the Demons pressing here. Margin down to 2 points, 8-8-56 North Melbourne. The D's lead, the D's 8-6-54. In from the kick in as Gawn and Goldstein go at it again. Smith flew in from the side, couldn't take the mark. Thomas at the fall, got it out to Hanson Jr. He's got Bowie for company. He couldn't shrug the tackle. He runs him over the boundary line, and he's almost lucky he ran out of tarmac because he was well and truly wrapped up. As the attempted defend will have a boundary throw in just in front of the North Melbourne interchange bench.
Kangaroos cannot break the Melbourne defence here, get past centre wing.
When you start to do the fending and you get nailed, it doesn't normally work out too well. Here's Scott, he overran it. Now Petrarca picks it up. Handball looking for Brayshaw. Scott went back and tried to win the football and then finally gets it to the line. And Melbourne just inside their attacking 50, right half forward. And they are pressing Melbourne. North, they're kicking in this quarter. Dropped off a bit again. They're just handing the football back. And if you want to do that to Melbourne, good luck to you. In the ruck, Sherry knocks it down. Target was Simpkin, but he can't keep it in the field to play another boundary throw in as you need a change happens, and that might be Stevenson, who wore, I think, a long sleever in the first half. He's warmed up okay. He's in the
sun's out now. The lights are on, but the sun's out.
Yeah, that Clarko's had a word about long sleeves.
Could have done too. That one got past him in the initial stages. Ball's back in. Brayshaw threw himself to ground. Still just outside Melbourne's attacking 50. In goes Petrarca on Scott. And the umpire said he didn't have any way of getting that out. It'll be a ball up. We've gone almost 8 minutes. It's a couple of points. The lead to the Kangaroos.
Still in half forward for the Demons, who are pressing early in this second half. Shoveled up by Viney to Sparrow. Missed his hands with the handball, and Davies Uniacke emerged with it. It was too hot, though, for McDonald. Kangaroos will come out with the footy, though. Zeeble in defence just has to poke a ball wide, and he does well to Core. It's in the back pocket. So this entire second half so far being played in the Melbourne attacking zone, as Core clears defensive 50. He wanted Tucker on the outer side. He had a pair of Demons to contend with. Couldn't reel in the mark, and the boundary line wins the day. A boundary throw in right in front of the hill and right beneath the scoreboard, which says North Melbourne continue to lead this game. 8-8-56 to 8-6-54. Gawn and Sherry in the ruck. Gawn takes it on the second bite. He's wrapped up by Sherry. It spills free. Petrarca strong. Got the handball out to Hunter. Looping handball over the top too. Gawn, but Davies Uniacke was all over it. He wrapped him up. Did he hold him for a little longer than he was allowed to? He did. So Max Gawn will end up with the free kick here.
Inside 50s will be 9-0 this quarter in favour of Melbourne.
Just forward of centre wing on the outer side is Max Gawn, and this will be inside 50, number 10, right after this from Rivers, who marks the short ball from Gawn. So Rivers goes inside on this occasion, looking for Petty. Did he take the juggler? He did. Two to contend with did Harrison Petty, and he's starting to get involved as a leading forward. Takes the mark. He'll kick for a goal from a tight angle just inside 50.
Well, he's got some contenders sort of waiting in the wings for that spot, with McDonald and obviously big Ben Brown and obviously the big fella from Collingwood, all waiting to sort of take that key forward spot eventually. So keep leading and marking the footy like that, well then you'll keep that spot.
Already had a shot so far this quarter. He sent it across the face. On this occasion, no such problems. He nails the goal. Harrison Petty has his second, and Melbourne lead this game. The D's 9-6-60. North Melbourne 8-8-56. 10.5 gone third term. The grandstand AFL, Brad Sewell.
Kangaroos are just a bit of a loss, aren't they? They can't get the ball past the halfway mark. All of these slow plays has enabled Melbourne to set up really strongly behind the ball. What we haven't seen this quarter is that ball movement that we saw from the Kangaroos in that first quarter. Play on at every opportunity through the middle part of the ground. That creates instability in front of the ball, forces teammates to move into space. And Zeeble just hasn't been able to do that. He's been happy just to go side to side, find a spare teammate, as opposed to take the ground in front of him.
9-6-60, 8-8-56. The Demons in front. Sherry knocks it down, but it's all Demons. Now taken by Thomas. Thomas pumps it inside 54. It's got to come from behind on Lever, and he's given him a little nudge. And Lever will win a free kick. Left half back on the outer side. The Demons kicking to the most southern end of Bellreeve Oval. He kicks it long. Gawn in the middle of the pack, overran it, couldn't take it. Melksham spun nicely. Now Pickett, handball away to Jordan. Jordan's got a player in space out wide, and he drills him to Hunter. He's got Rivers coming past. Rivers goes to the pocket. Petty can't take the mark. Ball thumped away. Shees has got some work to do on Pickett. Pickett, this is where he's dangerous. This way, that way. What'll he do? Spins on the left. Then just tries to centre it up. Brilliant, Cosy Pickett. And finds Petrarca, who's 25 metres out directly in front. He zigged, he zagged, he spun, and then he found a target.
They've been banging on the door this whole quarter, and you get the sense that it's going to fall over at some stage. And Petrarca puts this one through. That's 2 in 2 minutes, and as we said, 11 inside 50s to 1, and that one just scraped inside 50. Dam's going to break at some stage.
Has not kicked a goal today. Christian Petrarca worked hard and hasn't got a reward on the scoreboard. 25 out directly in front. Leans back. Kicks the goal. Demons are out by 10. An ominous sign. Melbourne 10-6, 66. North Melbourne 8-8, 56. We've gone 13 minutes in the third term.
Again, Pickett been one of the most influential players on the ground for Melbourne. A little bit of time and space in the forward half. So creative. Clever kick across his body on his left to find Petrarca.
9 of the last 11 goals now, the Demons, who have been well and truly in control since quarter time, it has to be said. Have raised a 33-point deficit to now lead by 10, the 13.5-minute mark, the second term. Following some results this weekend, a top 2 place on the AFL ladder. Now well and truly up for grabs. Back in the middle, Van Rooyen does a ruck work. It comes down to Phillips, who shot it off to Davies-Uniacke, spun in the tackle, strong enough to get the handball out to Goldstein. Now back to Simpkin. He goes one way, then the other, eventually just kicks up the spine. Off hands Larkey, couldn't bring it under his control. Bowie swooped on a loose ball at ground level, released his runners in Jordan, then Brayshaw, then Harms. Back to Jordan, middle of Bellerive. Sweeps a handball across the ground to Van Rooyen. He gives it to Sparrow, who just tries to chip one inside 50. Big tackle laid. North Melbourne will come up with it as it comes unstuck for the D's. Davies-Uniacke back of the square, gives it to Sheasel, who throws it on the boot, kicks to half forward. Unable to chop it off was Rivers. Contested ball on the outer side. Turner lays a tackle. Rivers goes to ground. Brayshaw comes in over the top. It'll be a ball up just forward of centre wing outer side. What have the North Melbourne Kangaroos got in the chamber? We've got Andrew Cooling on the boundary.
Yeah, Joel Smith just getting a right wrist looked at the moment. Just a bit of roving repairs there with some bleeding. Meanwhile, it looks like Harry Petty limping off as well. So might have another update while the Kangaroos, Charlie Lazaro, are starting to warm up. They might be readying the sub.
Round the body went Jaden Stevenson all the way to the teeth of goal. Taran Thomas has 2 to beat. Almost did so. Couldn't quite in the end. Demons will come up with it through Neil Bullen, who goes back across goal. Had Langdon in support. Fed him a handball, and Langdon clears the defensive area, but only as far as Taylor. No, he couldn't quite juggle the mark down. It came to Brayshaw of the D's. Shot it off to Harms, who was taken in a strong tackle as Taylor butted up well and won a holding the ball free kick.
Good second effort by Taylor. Muffed the first one and then got the second. Now his little chip kick finds Sheasel, who's got Goda in some space toward the broadcast side here, but he's going to kick inside 50. Up goes Gawn, just manoeuvred himself to the back of the pack.
You caught it right, Mike. They had players through the middle of the ground to switch the ball from one side to the other.
Yeah, they just didn't do it. Now a high kick from Taylor. Might be a Stephen May thump this time to the boundary line. They've lost their way going forward. You're right, Berkey. They're not lowering the eyes, and I guess they're not presenting either if you're forwards to run and get into space. They're just bombing that in, and now Max gone, he's going back.
Yeah, they just kicked the ball straight to Max, and he's going to mark it 8 times out of 10 at least, but they had the ability to go around and avoid Max, but they didn't take it.
Here's an opportunity for Simpkin. Got a handball away. Phillips hasn't had that much of a day. He might have a better one here. Phillips lines them up and misses. Behind us we saw Harrison Petty hobble away in front of us there and go down to the rooms. So the Kangaroos 8-9-57 trail Melbourne 10-6-66.
Yeah, Andrew Cooling has an update on the boundary.
Yeah, left ankle for Harrison Petty. He's just had some painkillers and gone straight down the room, so it was really struggling to put any weight on it. He looked in quite a bit of pain.
Yeah, so potential story emerging there as the Demons look for forward options. Petty was looking to perhaps be one of those as the ball goes out to the outer side centre wing. Aidan Coors wrapped up in a big tackle. We'll have a ball up just forward of a wing, North Melbourne attacking side. Up it goes. Goldstein down into the path of Phillips. He's hassled now by Brayshaw, who flicked it up to Neil Bullen, who just cuts inside and hits a short ball in the Sparrow direction. Couldn't hit him on the chest. McDonald came in, hassled the ball into the arms of Davies Uniacke, who comes into the middle of Bellerive, where he finds Simpkin. He's going to flare things wide. He wants Larky's put him under the pump as Stephen May gets across with a big fist and knocks it over right in front of the Melbourne interchange bench. Kangaroos 8-9-57 trail Melbourne 10-6-66, 17 and a half gone. Third term for grandstand AFL. Harrison Petty down to the rooms with an ankle injury.
Bread and butter for Stephen May if you want to set it up like that. From the boundary throw in, Phillips tried to rove the crumbs. There goes Viney, copped one right across the ear, then got the handball away to Harms. Harms, he's knocked off his kick, but he gets it long. Good mark taken by Core. Not been too bad down there, Core, and both Zeeble and now the handball to Jackson, who's had his moments as well. Jackson kicks to the outer side. It's going to be chopped off here by Rivers. Couldn't take the mark under pressure from Turner, who spun nicely, got it back to Taylor. And now, Sheezer was spun on the merry-go-round, threw it away. Now it's taken by Bullen. Neil Bullen, he kicks to the pocket. Up they fly, Petrarca! Superb mark, angling the body as he got himself forward and took a beautiful mark, Christian Petrarca. He's kicked one in this term. He's going to have to kick this from an angle, but it's on the right side for a right footer.
I just wonder how important those key forwards are for Melbourne when you've got Petrarca and Pickett down there in good form. You can certainly play as a key forward, Petrarca.
Runs around, lays it across the body and boots his second. 6 unanswered goals to the Demons. 11-6-72. North Melbourne 8-9-57. 19 and a half gone in the third term.
Well, I think the North Melbourne defensive have done a pretty outstanding job. They've been really good. They've conceded 11 goals, 6 up to this point, but I think the options that they've been given when they come outside of their defensive 50 haven't been great. Even the one previous to that, it was Archer coming out. You look for a player on the wing, but that player was surrounded by 3 Melbourne players, and naturally the ball went straight back in again, and you give Petrarca half a chance to jump at it, and he's going to take that every day of the week. So to me, they've done a really good job considering the pressure that they've been under, but eventually something's going to break.
Andrew Cooling's on the boundary where a sub's been activated.
Yeah, the Kangaroos have activated the sub. Lazaro is on. Robert Hanson Jr., the man who's come off.
Lazaro injected into the game as Jack Viney injects Melbourne inside forward 50. Once again, Van Rooyen came from 2 deep, couldn't take the mark. Chandler got 3 Kangaroos to contend with. Zebra was one of them. Had bobbed up to Neil Bullen, who weaved his way out of traffic, sent a ball towards goal, and the crowd tells the story. It's raining goals for the D's here at Bellerive. Alex Neil Bullen piles on more pain. 12-6-78 Melbourne lead North Melbourne 8-9-57 as Neil Bullen kicks his second of the afternoon. 20 and a half gone, third term for grandstand AFL Nathan Burke.
Well, it was a fair kick in the end. He's probably around about 48 metres out, and I don't think he was actually going for goal. He was just sort of banging it as far as he could towards the goal, but managed to get more of the ball than what he thought, and it sailed across an empty goal line. So well done by Neil Bullen kicking the ball that far under that amount of pressure. But again, the North Melbourne defenders didn't do a huge amount wrong, but if you've got to kick pretty impressive goals like that to score, well then good luck to you.
7 unanswered goals now to the Demons. Back in the centre, taken out of the ruck by Gawn. Little scrubby little kick forward. Taylor did nicely for North Melbourne, just to trap it, then got it to Turner, now away to Scott, then back to Taylor, then away back to Scott. Scott goes down the line. He's kicked it straight to May, who got it on the bounce, and May just measures the kick, looking for and finding Langdon. Langdon just took the mark. off the man who just come on, Lazaro, and then just feeds it to Bowie right in front of us. Bowie lays back on the kick and finds Neil Bullen, who had some space. How does that happen? Then the handball away to Sparrow. Sparrow now back to Viney. Viney ducks back on the left boot, kicks to the pocket. Great kick, but wonderful save and spoil back there by McDonald as Milksham was about to take the mark, and the ball just hits the line. It'll be a boundary throw-in about 45 metres out from the Melbourne goal.
Andrew calling.
The Demons have activated the sub. Harrison Petty's day is over. Michael Hibbert is on the ground.
So both subs activated here in Hobart. Hibbert in for the D's. We're inside attacking 50 for the D's as Harms and Sherry fight over the footy at ground level. It's all wrapped up and we'll have a ball up 40 metres out from goal. The Demons steamrolling North Melbourne here in this second term. 7 straight majors as Thomas emerges with the footy from the stoppage. Simpkin tried to sell the candy, lost his footing. His kick was chopped off hands now. Langdon, who just screws the ball back inside, but getting back and taking a sure defensive mark was Luke McDonald at the top of the goal square. So McDonald lays the left boot into it, sends it beyond defensive 50, off hands of Larkey, gathered on the bounce by Hunter, back to Salem, left foot ball out wide is good. Chandler takes the mark uncontested, right in front of the scoreboard. Inboard he comes to Stephen May. It wasn't 15. He's immediately claimed in a tackle. North Melbourne will win the turnover. Stevenson emerges with the footy. Out to Scott. Now Zeeble, who just has a fumble. Enough time and space to recover. Scott kept running, received the handball and shot a ball up the line to Paul Curtis. He gets things moving immediately to Stevenson, who kept on moving up the ground. He marks on his chest 80 metres out from goal. Stevenson plays on around the mark. He's going to go wide here because he's spied Curtis Taylor in some space, and he marks just outside 50 at left half forward for North Melbourne. Short ball inside 50, just the required 15. He finds a teammate in Jai Simpkin.
Well constructed in the end. Saw the Kangaroos lowering their eyes, kick across the arc to find spare players. Mind you, Lucky had one-on-one with Hibbert in the goal square. Slightly outsized there.
So Jai Simpkin will kick from right on 50 here. It'll take probably his best effort for North Melbourne's first goal since the 25-minute mark of the second term and first of the quarter from right on the paint. He sends it on its way. It's a pretty good-looking kick. Jai Simpkin hits back for North Melbourne, stems the flow of 7 straight, and finally North Melbourne kick their first goal of the third term to bring the margin back just a little bit. 12-6, 78. The Melbourne Demons lead North Melbourne 9-9-63. 24 and a half gone third term for Grandstand AFL. The Roos needed that one, Brad Sewell.
Yeah, it's important for the Kangaroos to stay in touch here. They were so good in that first half, and given how quickly Melbourne can score, it could get quite ugly, which wouldn't do justice for the terrific first half of football that the Kangaroos played. So importantly, just need to keep the scoreboard ticking over and be smart with their ball use going forward through transition.
Back to 15 points now. Just the 7th goal on the season for Simpkin. Back in the centre. Brayshaw collects the crumbs. Got it to the running Gawn. Gawn kicks long. Ball thumped away by Mackay. Umpires paid a free kick against Mackay for a holding infringement on Van Rooyen. And Van Rooyen from about 15 metres out directly in front should pop through the answering goal to the Demons.
To me, that just looked like a full-back and a full forward just hugging each other. Both were pushing and pulling exactly the same as the other one, and the forward gets a free kick.
Van Rooyen kicked a goal right on the bell of half-time, and he just waltzes in and pops through the answering goal. It's back to 21 points the margin now. Van Rooyen's got 2, and the Demons 13-6-84. North Melbourne 9-9-63, 26 gone. You're listening to Grandstand Football live from Belrive.
What you get with Max Gawn is you don't just get a really good guy who can tap the ball down. but his ability to run forward as soon as he recognised his smaller players were going to get their hands on the ball first, get on the end of a handball receive, come streaming forward and kick that ball to the top of the goal square. Not many rucks can do that part of the game, which is what makes him just as special as what he does when the ball's in the air.
Back to rucking one out as well, with Brodie Grundy out of the team, and they seem to have
I think he likes it.
The tried and true method that has been so successful for Melbourne over the journey. Back in the middle now as Viney just shrugs a tackle, wins a handball out to Brayshaw. He got it to Petrarca, now Viney again. Inside 50 go the D's. Meeting it strongly though was Goda. Good mark on his chest in front of Jordan. Right on the 50-metre arc. He hands it off to Zeeble, who goes wide to the outer side. Stevenson marks on his chest in front of Hunter. Right in front of the heel, runs his full measure. He might have run out of bounds here. Jaden Stevenson, he played on and might have just stepped over the line as he did.
I'm not sure how you can actually run out of bounds when you play on.
Don't see that very often. He played on while straddling the boundary, ran about 10 metres and stepped over the line and took the ball with him, so it'll be a boundary throw-in. Gawn wins the tap. Down to Hunter, shoveled it up to Viney, spun out of trouble, gave it to Brayshaw. Short kick was chopped off by Phillips. Eventually gathered though by Petrarca with the loose ball. Fed Chandler, who was streaming forward. Neil Bullen for another. A snap-on goal from Neil Bullen. And he has 3 for the afternoon. Alex Neil Bullen makes it 2 in a row for the Demons. 14-6-90. North Melbourne 9-9-63, and they skip back out to a 27-point buffer. 29 minutes gone in this third term.
Good finish by Neil Bullen. Again, we saw the Kangaroos, I think it was Zeeble from sort of almost centre-half back, happy to kick on the 45 back towards the boundary line. In that first quarter, we would have seen Zeeble just play on, go straight up the middle of the ground. That's when the Melbourne defence looked vulnerable, but right now, from the back half, the Kangaroos are playing right into the Melbourne's hands, kicking long, high balls to where Lever, May, Hibberd, these types are set up, just allowing a big fist out of bounds and the game this quarter to be played in Melbourne's half.
Charlie Lazaro, if you don't want to be a sub, probably throw yourself on that boot and not try and smother it like a Tyrannosaurus arms.
13 goals to 4 since quarter time for the Demons. Out of the centre, now taken by Salem. They're just running in waves of the Demons. Salem's kick looking for Melksham, and he may win a free kick for being held onto against Core this time. So everything running at the moment for the Demons. And Melksham will shoot from about 40 metres out, 45 metres out on an angle in front of the big scoreboard here at Bellerive, which shows 14-6-90 Melbourne. The Kangaroos 9-9-63, 27 points the margin. After North led by 26 at quarter time, it's now 27 points to the good for the D's.
Been good lately, been a bit quiet today.
There he is, Jake Melksham from about 45, lays back on the kick and leaves it narrow. 28 points the margin now, 14-7-91 Melbourne, 9-9-63 the Kangas.
Andrew Cooling's on the boundary.
Yeah, the only thing not going the Demons' way at the moment is injury. Like James Harm's currently getting a left ankle being looked at by physios the last couple of minutes. He's back up and moving, but looking very proppy.
But Zeeble clears defensive 50. The siren sounds in what was a quarter that well and truly belonged to the Melbourne Demons. They trailed by 4 points at the major break, but they hit back. And they now hold a 14-7-91 to 9-9-63 lead over North Melbourne with 1 quarter to play. They kicked 6 goals to 1 in that quarter and have been dominant since half-time, Nathan Burke.
Yeah, they dominated that quarter all over the ground. They dominated the clearances, they dominated field position. North Melbourne struggled to get the ball from one end of the ground to the other. It was like Melbourne had a wall built across the middle, just kept rebounding the ball back in. And as gallant and as brave as the North Melbourne defenders were, something had to give at some stage, and eventually the goals started to pour in, and you can't blame the defenders. They, as I said, I think they've done an outstanding job. I think it's just the midfielders have been beaten, and the forwards haven't had a lot of opportunities. But what I want to see from the North Melbourne forwards is at least coming up the ground and offering some better options for the defenders as they come out. There really hasn't been great options for them to go to. There's been one at a time. If they kick the ball long, they're getting outmarked and the ball's coming straight back in. So a lot of work to be done from the North Melbourne forwards. And you can't just say, hey, the ball didn't come inside 50. They've got to get up the ground and actually help their teammates out a little bit. But for Melbourne, I think it's just been a case of, you know what, we'll lift our intensity, we'll lift our work rate, and then our skill and our game style and everything will come to the fore and take over. And they haven't done anything special. They've just worked harder than what they did in that first quarter.
Goal kickers after 3 quarters for Melbourne. Alex Neil-Bullen kicked 2 in that quarter to have 3 for the game. Keziah Pickett has 3. Christian Petrarca also kicked back-to-back goals in that quarter. He has 2. Jacob Van Rooyen has 2. Chandler 2 and Petty 2 for the Demons. While for North Melbourne, Eddie Ford had a 3-goal opening term, has not really been cited since. He has 3. Todd Goldstein with a pair, and singles to Larky, Curtis, Scott and Simpkin. The margin at 3-quarter time is 28 points. They did trail by 4 points at the major break, did the Demons, but it's been one-way traffic since then, Brad Sewell.
Yeah, it certainly has. Melbourne got their running game going. They brought their mids into it. They won the contest, won the clearances, and their chain in handballs. But because they managed to play the game in their half, Berkey, I wonder if the Kangaroos were actually better off keeping their forwards a little bit deeper, disallowing May and Lee to get up the ground, giving the half-backs of the Kangaroos some space to move into, the midfielders some space to run into, might make that transition a little bit easier coming out of their back half. I just want to see the half-backs for the Kangaroos take it on again the same way that we saw in that first quarter. That being said, the defence from the Melbourne's forwards was fantastic. The pressure they applied disallowed any ease of transition.
We'll take a short break from here at Bellerive, and when we return, it'll be the 4th and final quarter with Melbourne leading by 28 points over North.
You'll always find top drama on ABC iView. Tell me what you got. Always intriguing with The Messenger and Smother.
I don't know who to trust anymore.
People think I'm a psycho. Always dramatic with Vandervalk and In Our Blood.
She really doesn't like you. The world needs beautiful things right now.
And always different with In Limbo, Bay of Fires, and so much more.
I'm back for an encore.
A surprise holiday. You'll always find the best drama. Happy. Streaming for free on ABC iView. Grandstand AFL.
Now streaming every match on the ABC Listen app.
Look for the AFL button.
So Rivers goes inside on this occasion, looking for Petty. Did he take the juggler? He did. Already had a shot so far this quarter. He sent it across the face on this occasion. No such problems. He nails the goal. Harrison Petty has his second, and Melbourne lead this game.
Kangaroos are just a bit of a loss, aren't they? They can't get the ball past the halfway mark.
Neil-Bullen, he kicks to the pocket. Up they fly. Petrarca runs around, lays it across the body, and Bucci's second.
Bobbed up to Neil-Bullen, who weaved his way out of traffic, sent a ball towards goal, and the crowd tells the story. It's raining goals for the D's here at Bellerive.
The 2023 AFL season.
On radio,
ABC Sport Digital.
and now streaming on the ABC Listen app.
Well, there was a slight sniff of an upset early in this contest when North Melbourne led Melbourne by 26 points at the first change. The D's reeled them in to trail by just 4 points at half-time, and after 3 quarters, they're well and truly in control. 28 points to the good, 14-7-91 the D's. They lead North Melbourne 9-9-63. The question being, what can North Melbourne do to arrest the flow in this 4th and final term as the D's eye a top 2 spot on the AFL ladder? Players making their way back out into the middle. Some injury news, a possible knee injury for Harrison Petty. He's been subbed out of the game with Michael Hibbert injected for him, which is a potential story going forward. North Melbourne have also made their sub Charlie Lazaro into the game for Robert Hanson Jr. Fourth and final term from here at Bellerive. The D's by 28 points.
Max Gawn and Todd Goldstein, they've had a big battle today. Goldstein got this down to Thomas, now to Simpkin. So North get the first inside 50. Long kick, and Curtis almost took the mark. Lazaro, lovely little handball out to Stevenson, who should have kicked a drop punt and decided to turn it around the body, but North get the first score of the final term behind. 1964, Melbourne 14-7-91.
They had time and space, did Jaden Stevenson, but it was almost like instinct just forced him to go around the body instead of just kick a regulation drop punt as the D's bring it in from full back. Rivers takes the mark. Short ball is good to Sparrow. Back to Rivers, whose short ball is good again to Brayshaw. Hunter on the outside, and all of a sudden they're going inside 50. Big fly in between two roos was Melksham. He thought he held on to it. I thought he did too. Goes back and gets after a loose footy. It's eventually into the arms of McDonald, who's taken over the boundary line by Hunter. He had a good piece of that, did Melksham, I thought.
Yeah, I think he's a bit stiff there. Definitely had a good piece of that one.
Wasn't paid the mark, and we'll have a boundary throw in. 65 metres out from Melbourne's goal, right in front of the commentary position here at Bellerive. The lights are on as Gawn gets to the front, wins it down only as far as Simpkin, who handed it off to Thomas. His kick was smothered by Sparrow, but Thomas regathered the footy, gave it to Simpkin, who sent North Melbourne forward. Wanted Sherry, unable to take the mark. McVee, like a cat on a hot tin roof, jumped up, pounced up and took the footy, received it back from a teammate in Rivers, then got it off to Hibbard, the sub, back to Brayshaw on the boundary line. Wanted Gawn over the top, tried to knock it onto Sparrow, ducked the head, couldn't get past the brick wall that was Luke Davies-Uniacke, and he's forced over the boundary line right in front of the interchange benches. We'll have a boundary throw in, a couple of minutes played this fourth and final term. Melbourne 14-7-91, North Melbourne 9-10-64.
Looked like he was out of bounds there a moment ago. McVee did it well. Gawn from the throw in. The advantage of Thomas, who got the handball away to Taylor, whose kick was errant. A cluster of demons there. The mark taken by Hunter, who shorts it up on the wing to Brayshaw, right in front of the interchange gates. Angus Brayshaw just twirls the football and pushes off now. Kicks long. Oh, Melksham this time. Oh, lovely roving by Chandler. He's got to use his right boot, which is not preferred. Now Tucker. Tucker handballs away to Scott, and Scott just outside his defensive 50. And the mark is taken by Taylor in front of Sparrow. Right on the boundary line, on the paint of 50 defensive. Now Taylor kicks high. Why would you kick it to Max Gawn? He was there, couldn't take the mark. Thomas, handball chopped off. Ends up with Davies-Uniacke, who tried to feed the handball down to ground. Hibbert did nicely. Lever. It ends up with Rivers. Rivers wanted to give it to Petrarca, and now he goes to Melksham. Melksham, one grab, two, can't take the mark. Was he held without the football? It's inside 50. Melbourne attacking. Left half forward, and the ball just trickles out of play. Boundary throw in. 9-10-64 North. Melbourne 14-7-91. 3 minutes gone last quarter.
27 points the margin. These trailed by 4 at half time, but have been in control ever since. In the top two spot, in it comes. Petrarca roved it, a handball over his shoulder to Brayshaw, who went underground. It ends up with Hunter, who just spears one into the pocket where Van Rooyen marks in front of Mackay. Up against the boundary line, 45 metres out. It'll take a nice kick, but we've got a pretty good view of it.
Good hands by Van Rooyen. He protected the ball drop well. Mackay was all over him.
Harrison Petty kicked a goal from a very similar position earlier in the game. Van Rooyen just inside 50. He'll step over the boundary line on a fairly tight angle. Inside the boundary, lets fly, and he's just missing to the near side as he tugs it for a minor score. Margin back to 28 points. Andrew Cooling's on the boundary.
An update on Harrison Petty. He has reappeared on the bench, unfortunately for Demons fans, in a moon boot, so you can probably draw your own conclusions from that.
Yeah, not good news as Zeeble just plays on from fullback, kicks to a pack. Lever got hands on it, couldn't take the mark. In goes Brayshaw. Brayshaw spun, got his kick away. Might have been 15, or might it be Simpkin. Brave went for the mark, couldn't take it. In goes Goater. He's ridden to the ground. by Harms. It'll be a ball up just outside the attacking 50 that for Melbourne. Umpire's going to throw it up. Gawn and Goldstein. Goldstein got it nicely down to Davies Uniacke. Handball was adrift to Taylor. It was snagged by Harms. Harms kicks a real up and under. High floater. Zeeble and Melsham. Falling over was Mackay. Who can knock it through for North Melbourne? Scott is tackled. And it'll be a ball up right in the 10-metre square. Only a couple of metres out from goal. Melbourne looking to snag another. Can North knock it through? Goldstein can't knock it through for a behind, and he has done, and that, I thought maybe it's got to go through on the full if you do that, but Goldstein with a fingertip on it, it's a rush behind, 9-11-65 to 14-9-93.
Carlton leads St Kilda by a point, one behind to no score. At Docklands, early stages of the first term in that game, as the ball clearing defensive 50 from North Melbourne is plucked off by Lever on the outer wing. Short ball to Bowie. He'll concede some ground but straighten things up. Now Salem receives in the middle of Belrive. Inside 50 go the Demons. Gawn direction, off hands Harms. Good to see him back out there. Handball off to Van Rooyen. Couldn't shake the tackler, but got a handball out. Harms went again. Fed it out to Langdon on the outside. Kick towards Melksham in the pocket, but it's dealt with by Core. It's out for a boundary throw-in. In the right forward pocket for the D's. 6.5 gone in this fourth and final term here at Belrive. The Melbourne fans in good voice here in Hobart, where they're well supported. They're hoping they can hang on for a fifth consecutive victory. In it comes. Goldstein got to the front, couldn't win the handball out. Zeeble was mobbed. Viney led the charge and brought him to ground. We'll have a ball up, 30 metres out from Melbourne's goal. 14-9-93, the Demons played North Melbourne 9-10-64. It's a pack of players converge out of the congestion. Petrarca got boots of ball, sent a shot on goal and just missed the near side and almost took out a cameraman in a high position up on the balcony.
Since half-time, inside 50s have been 25-7 in favour of Melbourne.
Well, Bailey Scott plays on from fullback and kicks to near the boundary line, and Taylor has it knocked away from him. It'll be a boundary throw-in right in front of our broadcast position here. Really close to this one. So Gawn and Sherry. Sherry got himself to the front, got the tap away, but tapped it straight to Gawn, who threw it on the boot. Melksham couldn't take the chest mark. Falls to Scott. Scott gets a handball back to Zeeble, who just gets it 15 metres to Gota. Gota, that's got some hang on it, that kick, but it's okay. It was marked by Mackay, who got it away to Scott. And now to Tucker, now back to McDonald. McDonald kicks it long, hoping for a Larky mark. He's only kicked the one goal. Ball just booted off the ground. It goes inside 50, foot race here, and May wins it and gets it to Gawn. Geez, working hard, Max Gawn, right in the teeth of goal. Now Salem. Salem's got a measure to kick to Neil Bullen, but Zeeble is there to knock it away. Just forward of the wing for North Melbourne. Zeeble's got to run to the bench. He's about cooked, is he? No, he's going to go to half back. It'll be a boundary throw-in. 9-10-64, 14-10-94. 30 points the lead to the Demons.
Much better transition from the Kangaroos out of their back half. Play on, run and carry, got in behind the Melbourne defence.
We just haven't seen that enough since half-time.
In it comes, smashed forward by Sherry in the Thomas direction, who showed a clean pair of heels. He lets fly from just inside 50. It floats across the face. Ford's on the goal line, tried to bring it down. He butted up with a second effort. Might have caught his opponent high. It spilled out to, I think, it might have been Eddie Ford who kicked another one.
Might have been Curtis
Taylor.
Yep.
Curtis Taylor adds to North Melbourne's tally. 10-10-70 go the Roos to Melbourne's 14-10-94. They cut the margin back to 24 points. Curtis Taylor gets his name on the score sheet. It was set up by that nice bit of play from Taron Thomas.
Yeah, Taron Thomas out of a stoppage was really good. Used his pace and got the ball to a really dangerous spot, which is something that the ball just hasn't been to in the North Melbourne forward line at all, giving their players just an even chance to actually win the ball. So well done. The best way to get it in there is to win that stoppage and get the ball going your way. Good tap out by, I think it was Goldstein at the time, to a free Taron Thomas.
Back in the centre, 10-10-70 to 14-10-94. Simpkin for North Melbourne. Sherry with a handball away to Thomas. Now to Scott. Scott gets the kick away. Kicks inside 50. Can he find a target? Almost. Curtis couldn't take the mark. In fact, it was Ford. He butted up okay. Little handball comes out from Rivers to Jordan. Now Salem close to the line. It'll be a boundary throw in. Gee, North have just picked up a little bit. They've got a bit of a spring in their step at the moment. They're 24 points down. But they're starting to get it all back again.
Ford did all the hard work. He got rid of his opponent and dived forward, and in the end just spilt the mark. Would have been two very, very quick goals.
Yep, would have been good for them. Goldstein from the ruck contest. Rivers handball over the top. Jordan just set sail for the wing. Zeebles try and get in this. Mackay was in amongst that, couldn't take the mark. It spills to Petrarca, back to Pickett. Pickett's little loping handball looking for Hunter, but it had a bit of bounce with it and didn't carry to him on the full, and Hunter has to take it to the line and then just hands the ball to a fan who hands the ball back to the boundary umpire to be thrown in. 10-10-70 North Melbourne. They trail Melbourne 14-10-94. 11 minutes gone last quarter.
Only 24 points. Game certainly not out of reach for the Roos if they're good enough. We saw in that first term they can string goals together. What have they got here in Hobart? Scott receives the handball at the back of the stoppage. He gave it to McDonald but put him immediately under pressure. They've turned it over here, North Melbourne. Pickett weaving in and out of traffic at the top of the 50. He gave it to Jordan, who poked one inside to Petrarca. And he marks just inside 50. He'll have a chance to kick for his third goal of the afternoon. He kicked back-to-back majors in the third term. And he'll kick for a third from just inside 50. No real angle to speak of.
I think it was just McDonald on that occasion, just overusing the footy. He's got the ball going his way, tried to invent something, didn't come off.
So Christian Petrarca to extend the margin out to an even 5 goals. Steps right onto the paint of 50, lets fly. It's just missing to the near side. So the door just remains open for the Roos. A minor score. 14-11-95 the D's lead North Melbourne 10-10-70, 25 points the margin, 12.5 gone, fourth and final term.
St Kilda by 10 points early days at Docklands. So Gota took the mark from the kick in and goes out wide. McVee got a little handball away to Salem. His handball was chopped off. Stevenson had to be a bit better there and went back, tried, couldn't get it. Now Bowie. Bowie's not bad by foot. That kick looking for Neil Bullen. An unkind bounce, but then went back, won it, got tackled to the line. And it will be a ball in. So 25 points the margin. You're seeing a shot of Alistair Clarkson, who's back in the coach's box today. He'd like what he's seen in the first half at least. Third quarter, not so much. And his team is really showing something in this last quarter. Boundary throw in. Sherry couldn't quite get a fingernail on it. Simpkin, Langdon got it away to Viney, who finally got the kick away as he was slung. Oh, Pickett, that's some smart work. Pickett dodges this way, that way, and then delivers a beautiful pass to Neil Bullen, who's 40 metres out on a slight angle.
How good are his hands, Pickett? That ball was bouncing around all over the place. One touch, so incredibly clean.
His change direction by foot so quickly in a very short square. He's amazing. Here's Neil Bullen, who's booted 3. He'll kick from about 45. Good run up. He's missed it to his near side. So another behind. So 26 points to the margin, 14-12-96 to 10-10-70. The Demons have this one pretty much under control.
Zeeble from full back, runs his full measure and kicks beyond defensive 50 in the Larky direction. He was too deep, had to knock it down. Here's Viney burrowing through, scrapped a kick towards the boundary, but only as far as Lazaro, who got it to Thomas. Now over the top to Larky by hand, who sent North Melbourne towards their attacking 50. Over the back was Bowie, fed the handball to Salem, had Lazaro for company, but squeezed a kick really craftily inboard to Lever. Only went about 9 metres, but the umpire pays it. Lever has it at left half back for the Demons. He just sends a long ball up the line. Mackay thumped it down, but only as far as Petrarca, who shot off a handball to Brayshaw. Now Viney in the middle of Bellerive. Shakes off the Davies-Uniacke tackle, sends a ball forward, but McDonald gets in front and takes a strong defensive mark for North Melbourne. Kick wasn't as good. He put it out in front of Gota laterally, who had to go and get it. His handball over the top missed the mark, and the boundary line beats all comers, and we'll have a boundary throw in. 55 metres out from Melbourne's goal, the outer side. The attendance flashes up on the screen, 8,034 through the gates this afternoon here in Hobart. Sherry wins it down only as far as Brayshaw of the Demons. His handball misses Van Rooyen, and we'll have another boundary throw in at right half forward for Melbourne.
Kangas need a lot more out of Sherry. He hasn't taken a mark all day. He's only one of 2 players on the ground who haven't actually marked the ball. And for a guy his size, he's got to have far more aerial presence than what he does.
He'll contest the ruck with Van Rooyen. Knocked it down. Falls to Taylor. Taylor of North Melbourne kicks it to the wing to Curtis. Curtis spins around on the left. He's got a real darting left boot on him. Out in front of Ford, who paddles on to Larky, but Larky couldn't quite snag it. Well done by Hibbert. Now it ends up with Lever, and the D's out of trouble. Only momentarily, because the short kick was looking for Langdon, and then Curtis with the sprawl knocked that ball out of play, and it's just outside the forward 50 for North Melbourne on the outer side, right in front of the hill and the big scoreboard up there, and it'll be a ball in. Van Rooyen and Sherry. Shallow throw in, ends up with Sherry. Now to Davies-Uniacke, who hoists it really high. No one can take a mark. Salem, so clean with his hands. Tackled by Simpson, spun around, eventually got rid of it. Now Harms, McVee caught right on the goal line, but managed to get it away to Harms. Harms's kick. Pickett's got to go the punch behind. He might have infringed here, has he? I think it might be a free kick to young Archer, who's right on the paint of 50, forward 50 that is. And Archer will launch it inside 50. He's just chipped it. No mark taken. Right at the back. Oh, fumble. Sheasel might go off the ground. Can't quite get there. Stevenson tried to go off the ground. Curtis tried to go off the ground. And no one can actually get it until the Demons. A little chipping ball by Rivers finds Chandler at half-back. They all had a crack at it off the ground. They couldn't get the job done.
Well, they got out of jail there, the Demons. All they had to do was find a toe somewhere in North Melbourne to get it over the line, but they're unable to do so as Chandler comes inboard to Bowie. He's going to go centrally now, and he does to Jordan. He does well to mark on his chest in front of Scott. Back of the square, and it's going to be 50.
He moved off after he was stand. It's a tricky one, that one, because the play with the ball did feign the handball. And sometimes they say, yeah, that's counted as play on and you're allowed to move after that. But the umpire wasn't very forgiving.
The move's never significant anyway, and it just doesn't impact, does it?
No.
Good news for North fans is it was a very short 50, and they're yet to go inside 50 here, the Demons. Salem has it in the middle of the ground. He goes wide to Rivers. They're just setting something up here, the Demons. Here comes the kick inside 50. Van Rooyen was the target. It missed him. Curtis Taylor got one high as he went down after the footy. McDonald went in after it, was tackled. It'll be a ball up 35 metres out from Melbourne's goal. Up it goes. Van Rooyen does the ruck work. Brayshaw goes in after it, gets it out to Harms, who shrugs the Archer tackle, but Archer from ground level later smother. He turned it over for his team. McDonald exits defensive 50. Bouncing ball just eluded Taran Thomas. Ended up with Rivers, who goes right across the ground. Ambitious kick to Salem, but he got some front-on contact from Lazaro, who'll get a free kick. So Zalem on the near wing. Short ball is good to Neil Bullen, who marks 80 metres out from goal. Pops it into the pocket to the leading Melksham, who takes it on his chest. McDonald did all he could to try and get in front, but he was just a moment too late. And Melksham takes the mark.
That's real courage by McDonald, because he was going to be cleaned up big time there, but he still tried to run across the flight of that ball.
So Melksham is going to line up for goal here, 45 metres out on a reasonably tight angle. Hasn't booted a major this afternoon as Jake Melksham, but can remedy that with a straight kick here. Traditional drop punt on its way. It's sliding across the face and knocked over for a minor score. The margin extends to 27 points, 14-13-97 the D's, North Melbourne 10-10-70, 20 and a half gone, fourth and final term here at Bellary.
Might have backed him if it was on the siren with a goal to win the game. Melksham, he's been in good form. The long kick out is chopped off here by Hunter. Right in front of us here near the boundary line is Smith. He kicks it up high for Gawn, can't take the mark. The spillage goes to Smith. Scott, I should say. Now to McDonald. And a ball up. Right on the paint of 50. Demons in attack. And a ball up. Here they go. Gawn and Goldstein back together again. Gawn beautifully down to Harms, who went without it. Taylor couldn't take it. Thomas ridden into the ground by Neil Bullen. And the umpire will call for a ball up. They go. Gawn, left-hander, down to Sparrow. He kicks it high. Up goes McDonald, couldn't take the mark. Goda might have been tripped, and he'll win a free kick. And he's about 35 metres out from his defensive goal. Goda, he's tried hard today.
Yeah, it's a really likely type. He's very athletic. He's a good kick of the foot. He moves across the ground really well, and I think they've found a good one there.
Goda went wide to a one-on-one in Tucker, but was unable to win the footy. It came down to Bowie, who hit Van Rooyen on the lead, and his squaring ball is good to Chandler.
Barry's ball use and vision is exceptional. He just never seems flustered, always spots a target, hits his targets 9 times out of 10. Just really found a home in that back line, which is strange because his father, when he played, the only time he went in the back line was when he forgot which way we were kicking and walked up the wrong end of the ground at the start. Would never go in the back line in a million years.
So Kay Chandler has 2 for the afternoon. He's been productive inside forward 50 for the Demons. Leans back on this one and adds a third to his tally. Raises the arms to the Melbourne faithful here in Hobart. And it's going to be a very, very, very steep mountain to climb here for North Melbourne. 15-13, 103 the D's. The Roos 10-10-70. 23 minutes gone. Fourth and final term. Kay Chandler kicks his third.
Well, after a slow start, Melbourne have done what they had to do, didn't they? Very ordinary that first quarter. Kangaroos jumped them with fantastic play on type of football from half back. The D's have slowly ground their way back into the game. In this last quarter and a half, they've kicked away.
How many's Neil Bullen got? Has he got 2?
3.
So there's 9 goals from their small forwards. Pickett, Chandler and Neil Bullen with 3 each. So that's a good effort from the small fellas.
Back in the centre. Tap down goes to Simpkin. Now back to Thomas. He's about to get caught. He had a bounce, backed himself, goes long. That's a thumping kick by Thomas. Who can take the mark? No one. Oh, up the back. Curtis off the ground, hit the post. It just bounced up a little bit high for him. Then he had to stretch the old hamstrings. And they almost had to reply very quickly. But it's through for a point. 10-11-71. North Melbourne, 15-13, 103.
He did well to get a boot to it in the end because he did get a very awkward bounce. It comes from full back, pack forms, Mackay over the top. Davies-Uniacke couldn't squeeze out a kick. Melksham at ground level, couldn't find a teammate with a handball. Eventually Harm swoops on the loose footy, got it to Chandler. Then Hunter went underground and lined up Sparrow, who took the footy but was knocked heavily off it by McDonald. Over the boundary line it goes, right in front of the Melbourne interchange bench. Just repeating, Harrison Petty out of the game with what appears to be a foot or a lower leg injury and a moon boot. The Melbourne interchange bench, which causes another headache for the D's as they look for a forward solution. Hunter out of the stoppage. The handball missed the mark as Harms lost his feet. Another boundary throw in. Right in front of the broadcast position. 25 minutes gone in this fourth and final term. It's Melbourne by 32 points. They were 33 down at one stage. Davies Uniacke read it best off the tap. Just tumbles the ball forward. It pitches and goes out of bounds, but there's a free kick that's been plucked out here and another 50-metre penalty. It'll go the way of Melbourne.
That was a descent, that one.
So Hibberd tucks the ball under his arm and he's marched just forward of centre wing. It's against Eddie Ford, I think, who had a little bit to say about the free kick. Inside 50 goes Hibberd. Mackay led his opponent in Smith to the ball. North Melbourne will come up with it here. Davies Uniacke to McDonald, and now Scott just bounds out of 50, run his full measure out to Lazaro. Now McDonald, middle of Bellerive, sends a thumping left foot ball inside. Larkey had to make up ground, almost got to it, couldn't quite take the mark. It came out to Salem, who got it back to Lever. Short ball is good. So they just settle things down here, the D's. Rivers takes the mark, plays on immediately by hand, back to Lever. Now Brayshaw sold his teammate in Van Rooyen into a little bit of trouble. He's mobbed by a pair of North Melbourne players. Ford tried to get away, couldn't elude Van Rooyen. Spilled out to Neil Bullen. Now Davies Uniacke. He got the handball to Scott, who elects to just put it on the boot. Inside 50 go the Roos. Awkward bounce for Larkey. Went back in under it. Might have got one in the back from May. Goes and drags it in at ground level. How will the umpire see this? You guessed it. Holding the ball against Larkey, who attacked it down low and was penalised for doing so. Hibberd emerges with the Sherrin, goes laterally to May, who marks right where the boundary line meets the 50-metre line.
He's a hard man, that umpire. There's no sympathy for Larkey trying to make the play, battling against four players. He had no sympathy for the player who told him he made a wrong decision.
He's had a tough day, Nick Larkey. Nothing's gone right for him down there.
It's been a great battle between he and May. May's been with him right since the very opening bounce. It's been a really good battle between the two, and I think you look at the goal numbers, which is what Larkey's down there to do, you have to give the points to May.
Yeah, I think he's pretty much had his number for most of the day. Boundary throw in, Goldstein, Van Rooyen. Goldstein got it down, and it'll be another ball up. So ticking into the twilight of this game, 27 and a half gone. 10-11-71 North Melbourne to Melbourne 15-13 103. McDonald shrugs the tackle back to Taylor, now to Simpkin, who just says, well, she's getting inside 50 as quick as I can, nothing doing. Salem just got it tapped down to him beautifully, and he looks for Brayshaw, who couldn't reel it in one-handed, then got the handball away to Neil Bullen, who fended off, and that should be holding the ball, and it is. You fend off, then you don't get rid of the footy, your history. And Taylor has got the free. Goes in short, just the 15. And it's been marked by Phillips, who's had a quiet day. Marked in front of Sparrow, so he'll be a good player, Phillips. Don't you worry about that. They've got a few blokes that'll be all right here in this north side. So Phillips goes high to a pack situation. Ford got his hands on it, just floated in from the side, couldn't take it. Mopped up by Salem, who got it to Rivers, who looks for Sparrow, just through his fingertips, and it rolls out of play right near the interchange gates. On the broadcast side of the game, it'll be a ball in. 15-13, 103 Melbourne. North Melbourne 10-11-71. The Kangas have been gallant, but the Demons put the foot down when they needed to.
Dying embers here at Bellerive. The D's out by 32 points. Boundary throw in. Offhand Simpkin, but his scrap kick forward was only as far as Salem, who just kicks off a step and waits a beautiful ball to Brayshaw, who sends a left foot ball inside 50. Melksham almost juggled it over the top of two North Melbourne players, and then he butted up and laid a really strong tackle on Mackay. Forced a stoppage inside, attacking 50. Can they add another here, the D's? Goldstein takes his position against Van Rooyen, who's batted pretty willfully in the ruck, and Goldstein just grabbed it out, sent a ball forward, and getting across was Rivers, knocking it over the boundary line. But there's the siren. They were challenged today, Melbourne. North Melbourne came out all guns firing, at one point led by 33 points, but it was the D's that prevailed. A top 2 spot on the ladder awaits 32-point victors here at Bellerive.
For me and for you, it's the emblem of the team we love, the team of the red and the blue. Every heart beats true for the red and the blue, and we sing this song to you. Should all acquaintance be forgotten, keep your eye on the red and the blue.
15-13, 103. The Melbourne Demons, they defeat North Melbourne 10-11-71 to hand the Roos an 18th consecutive loss. The D's string together 5 straight into the top 2. The goal kickers this afternoon for Melbourne, Alex Neil-Bullen had 3. Chandler had 3. Pickett had 3. Petrarca and Van Rooyen and Petty had 2 apiece. Well, for North Melbourne, Eddie Ford kicked 3 goals. Todd Goldstein kicked 2 singles to Curtis, Larkey, Scott, Simpkin and Taylor.
For the red and the blue, and we sing this song to you. Should all acquaintance be forgotten, keep your eye on the red and the blue.
So Melbourne, they stave off a gallant North Melbourne, who led by 26 points at quarter time and by as many as 33 points in this match to take a 32-point victory away from Bellerive here in Hobart. Locked down a top 2 spot on the AFL ladder, and in the end they cruised to victory after half-time. Nathan Burke, how did you see it?
Yeah, they were pretty gallant at the start, North Melbourne, and came out firing, and it was their pressure that was really keeping them in the game. Wasn't sort of a style of play that Melbourne couldn't battle. It was just basically Melbourne needed a good clip over the head at quarter time and to come out and fire up and actually say, you know what, you've actually got to win this game. The other team aren't going to hand it to you on a plate. They're going to come out and try and take a big scalp, which you guys are. And once they did that, Melbourne, well, then it was their positioning around the ground. The inside 50s were heavily lopsided in favour of Melbourne after half-time. And it just goes to show they put pressure on the North Melbourne defenders, could not get the ball past halfway for long periods of the game, and eventually the dam would break and Melbourne would start to score and score heavily. So 30-odd points, it's probably not a bad effort from North Melbourne, but if we had more time to dig into them, it's a bit disappointed in what I saw from North Melbourne overall, because I look at the Hawks and I can tell a real type of a brand of football that the Hawks are trying to build, and I've seen North Melbourne a lot lately and I can't put my finger on what that is. So in many ways, apart from blooding some young players, it's been a wasted year for North Melbourne. I don't think they're a long way ahead of what they were at the start of the year, and in the second half I think we certainly saw that.
Yeah, it's been a funny old year for the Roos, and of course today marked the return to coaching for Alistair Clarkson. Brad Sewell, I'm not sure if you spied anything in terms of anything different in terms of what North Melbourne did as a return, as a sign of Alistair Clarkson returning to the fold, whether it was that opening quarter where they played with so much spirit, or whether it was some positional or tactical things on the field. Do you think there was any tangible change to how they went about it with Clarko back in the box?
I don't think anything was necessarily different technically. I mean, their energy and intensity in the first quarter, I think maybe if it was to attribute something, that might have been it. Because they were fantastic in the first quarter, the Kangaroos. Their dash and dare off half back. They controlled the game. It was played in their half, and they caught Melbourne on their heels. The D's were a little bit shell-shocked. They didn't quite expect the Kangaroos to come out in the fashion that they did, but the Kangaroos just aren't in a position to be able to match that for 4 quarters, and it was only a matter of time really until Melbourne got their game going and overran them.
Yeah, it was 69 inside 50 to 45 the Demons' way. But at the other end of the ground, the Demons had more tackles inside 50, 12 to 10. And the D's also dominated the marks inside 50, 20 to just 5 from North Melbourne. Some of the leading disposal winners this afternoon for both teams. We'll start with the winners in the D's. Well, Christian Petrarca, he had a slow start, but gee, he got going. He hit 2 goals, 3 amongst 27 disposals. Jack Viney worked hard with 26. James Jordan had 24, and Christian Salem ended up with 23. For North Melbourne, it was Jack Zeeble who had 32. A lot of ball, of course, inside the defensive 50. Bailey Scott had 31. Davies Uniacke had 28. And Jai Simpkin had 28 also. So a number of North Melbourne players toiled. Angus Brayshaw, apologies, had 37 to lead all comers for Melbourne. So was able to find a lot of the football as the D's prepare to make their way down into the rooms and sing the song. We'll have an interview for you very shortly. Andrew Callings made his way down, but pretty impressive from Melbourne in the end, Nathan Burke. They were challenged, 33 points down at one stage. And as we saw yesterday with Hawthorn and Collingwood, those comebacks aren't always assured, but they did so, and they did so well with plenty on the line too, that top 2 spot on the ladder up for grabs.
Yeah, that second half in particular, they won the inside 50s in the second half, 37-15. So they dominated field position. And as you called it, it was 20-5 inside 50 marks in favour of Melbourne, but it was 4-0 at quarter time. So 20 marks inside 50 to 1 after quarter time, and that shows a couple of things. One, the really good defensive effort from the Melbourne Tools. So May and Lever and these guys just not being outmarked, just getting a hand in or putting pressure on the marker down there, and that was a really good uptake from what they did in that first quarter. And down the other end, they just look really dangerous when they have open space. And as we called it, there was the small players kicked 9 goals between them, really shared it around and didn't rely. We keep saying who are their big tall forwards, Well, you know, if you get 9 from your small guys, you only need 1 or 2 each from the big fellas, and you're in every single game. So don't really rely on anyone who's going to kick 5 or 6. And I think that's really good going into finals, that you're not relying on anyone.
Let's go down to the winning change rooms now, where Andrew Cooling is awaiting.
It's the emblem for me and for you. Woo! It's the emblem of sing with love, sing all the red and the blue. Every heart beats true for the red and the blue as we sing a song to you. Where we sing should all the great things be. Keep your eye on the red and the blue.
Yeah, sung with some pep there from the Melbourne players, and we will rustle up a player to have a chat to very shortly. Just a quick score update from Docklands, the game between St Kilda and Carlton. That is St Kilda with a narrow lead, 3-1-19 to the Blues, 2-4-16 at the start of the second term. So that's a big game too for ramifications on who plays finals football in season 2023. Your takeaways, Brad Sewell, from this game before we head downstairs to have a chat to one of the victorious players. Was there anything that stood out for you?
No, not particularly. Melbourne came here and did what they had to do. They got jumped early. And for the Kangaroos, they've just got a long road ahead. They continue getting games into these young players. And continuing to reinforce a certain style of play, which Berkey touched on. He's not quite sure what that is just yet, but they've got a long way to go.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting next few weeks, of course, for both teams. Melbourne have a huge game next week against Carlton on Saturday night before games to round out the season against Hawthorn at the MCG. Who knows there, given the way the Hawks played yesterday against Collingwood, and then in the final round of the season they play Sydney at the SCG. So that's a really interesting fixture for Melbourne coming up. For North Melbourne, Essendon under the roof next Saturday, before games against Richmond at the MCG the week after that, and they finish their season here in Hobart, as a matter of fact, against the Gold Coast Suns. So it'll be, I guess, interesting to see whether or not the Roos can snare another win on the way home, because at the moment they're on an 18-game skid. It's the third worst consecutive losing streak in their history, which says a bit. I'm not sure there's a guaranteed victory in those final 3 games of the season.
I saw Essendon play last night they were very, very lucky to get over West Coast and at home at the Docklands. So a minute and a half to go, they were 5 points down and they got up and won by a point. So if I'm North Melbourne, I'm looking ahead. I'm looking closely at the game yesterday and saying, hey, we're a chance for that one next week.
Of course, the big story out of today's game as well, from a Melbourne perspective, is the injury to Harrison Petty. He was in a moon boot at the end of the game after being subbed off with a lower leg injury. We saw him go forward last week and kick 6 goals. He was pretty impressive this afternoon too. He kicked 2 before he had to make his way from the ground with that injury. The Demons have been searching for a solution up forward, and he might have been the one going forward, but he might be off the table now if the injury is as bad as we don't hope it is, but we think it might be. Does it mean that Brodie Grundy gets a recall potentially, Berkey?
It's tricky because I think Max Gawn, without Brodie Grundy, has been playing his best football over the last month. He sort of put himself back up in All-Australian form by just being that lone guy, and you can just tell he loves doing it because I was watching him today. He'd push into the forward line and he'd play a kick behind, and he just pretty much ran around and did whatever he wanted. And when you give him that sort of licence, that sort of head, he makes really good decisions and gets in really good spots, and that's why he's so dangerous. But you put another tall player in positions where he wants to go to, I think it just mucks him up a little bit. And he's certainly, to me, he's a player who's better off rucking one out and just having someone else who gives him a spell every now and again. But Brodie Grundy, that's why I think they want him to play forward and have maybe 20% in a ruck and 80% somewhere else, but he's just not cutting it at that 80% somewhere else. So they've got Ben Brown and they've got McDonald, and Josh Shackey's still on the list there as well. So they're not wanting for tall forwards. They've got a plethora of them. They've just got to find the right mix.
It begs the question, I suppose, what becomes of Brodie Grundy? If a key forward goes down and he's not the automatic choice to replace them, does he simply stay on the list as Max Gawn insurance, or does he get offloaded to a third club at season's end?
Might find out next week.
Yeah, it might have to do with, how many more years does Max think he can play football for and influence at the top level? I'm assuming Brodie Grundy's a couple of years younger, but Grundy can't sit around and wait for that, and then the decision's not in his hands. So yeah, it'll be a watch for the rest for the next 2 months, won't it?
Yeah, it certainly will. It's one of the more fascinating storylines in football at the moment. We're going to go down to the winning rooms where Andrew Cooling is joined by Alex Neil Bullen. Over to you, Andrew.
Yeah, here with Alex. A bit of a fight in the first half, but you must be happy with the way you responded there in the second half and got over the top for a big win.
Yeah, really happy with how we responded. I guess for coming over here, it's always a challenge. We've had probably 3 games over the last 4 years, and we always find the first quarter it's always on, and we probably, I wouldn't say we underestimated North, but I reckon there's a lot of room for improvement with how we attacked that first quarter. So really pleased that we could work through that. Footy games are never perfect, but the growth that we've shown through the year to wrestle back momentum, it's something that's going to take us forward.
Seemed like there was a lot of heat on the game really early on. They came at you quite hard. How did you guys kind of work through that and get back into it after being jumped in the manner you were?
Yeah, it was put on the agenda that's a strength of theirs, is their contest and stoppage, and they were probably getting their hands on the ball early on, and then from there we were able to, I guess, wrestle back momentum by winning our contest and utilising Maxi's stoppage brilliance. So that's an area. Once we got that, we were able to play a bit of forward half footy, and from there we set up our game defensively and were able to hit the scoreboard.
All right, I'll throw you upstairs and let our experts ask a few questions.
Alex, Nathan Burke here. Congratulations today, mate. 9 goals between you 3 small forwards. Showed the big fellas how to do it today.
Yeah, thank you, mate. It's always nice to see the small forwards hit the scoreboard, but I guess for us it's always comes off the back of our pressure and our drop a ball game, and really pleased to see Chandler and Cozzy, or that goal Cozzy kicked. I guess it's something that we always try to remember how skillful he is, but when Cozzy's got his game in balance, contest and defence, he's always, I guess, performing to the level that we know he can, and same with Chandler.
And you've been a bit of a jack of all trades over the years. You've sort of applied yourself in the middle and down back and up forward now. Do you have a preference? Are you a natural sort of a player who says, I like to kick a goal rather than save one?
Thank you, mate. I appreciate that. As a junior, I was an inside midfielder, and then I guess once you get to the top league, you kind of find a way where you can help the team, and that for me has just been on the half forward. Certain parts of our game plan have allowed me to get through the midfield, but where it sits now, I'm just playing a half forward role that Yeah, I bring my my pressure, my ball-winning ability, and I can kind of combine it all together. So for me, I've got a really good relationship with Goody, and I'm very, I guess, thankful to Goody. He's stuck with me over the years, especially when we weren't, I guess, performing to a level as a footy club, and he's always had faith in me. So it's the old cliche, and it's what you did very well, Saul. You just continue to front up each week and apply your trade, and hopefully continue to have some success.
Good on you, Alex. Brad Sewell here. Mate, tell me, what are your focus areas for the next 2 months as finals approaches?
Yeah, we just want to make sure we keep performing in our game, which is our contest and defence. I think everyone who follows footy knows that's our one wood, and if we can perform that each week, we put ourselves in the game, and then we allow us to put our strengths on show. So that continuing forward, 3 games to go in the home and away, and then set ourselves up for a big finals campaign.
Clayton Oliver in the wings, you expecting him back next week?
Yes, very hopeful. He's just sitting there. He's bided his time, but I cannot wait to see him release the shackles and to him have the Melbourne Guernsey on again.
Yeah, good to hear.
Chris Rowbottom here. Alex, just an update on Harrison Petty for us. Do you have a prognosis out of the rooms for us in terms of the injury to Harrison? It's a shame because he was looking to be potentially a solution for you up forward.
Yeah, it's a bummer for Pets. He's in a moon boot again, so that's always not a great sign. I haven't spoken to him, but he did have a foot injury earlier on in the year, so fingers crossed it's not the same as that. But he's been crucial for us. We're developing this forward line. We continue to look for ways to improve, and he's been a huge part of that. So fingers crossed it's not too long on the sideline, because he's going to play a crucial part to where we want to get to.
You're steaming towards finals now. You've climbed the summit before, of course, but what's the feeling like around the club when you're making a run towards maybe a grand final or at least a finals campaign in terms of competition for spots and people doing all the right things and the professionalism and making sure that you hold your place in the team because you don't want to miss out on what is potentially to come in a month or two time?
Yeah, for sure, and this is my 9th year of footy now, and I know how hard it is to not only play in a final series but perform well in a final series. We obviously had 21, we went all the way, and then last year we bombed out. So for us it's about getting there, and then once we're there, I guess assessing our opposition, assessing where we're at in our performance, and really making sure we put our best foot forward for our Melbourne fans as well. Hopefully we can play some footy in Melbourne, and yeah, we'll see how we go. We won't be talking grand finals just yet. We just want to get through that first week, but it's exciting, mate. I really make sure I soak in the moment every time we get to this pointy end of the year.
Alex, Michael Mania here. You've got the Hawks next week, and coming off a big win against Collingwood, and they always play the G pretty well, so that's going to be a test for you too.
Is it Hawthorn next week? I thought it was maybe Carlton.
Actually, you've got Hawks in a couple of weeks, that's right.
Yeah. Hawks are on a heater at the moment.
Carlton next week, that's right.
Yeah. You're just testing me out there, aren't you?
Yeah, no, the other thing I was going to ask you about is Jake Melksham, who always seems to me like he's such a selfless player. He's a guy who sometimes he gets the rewards, but when he's not, he seems to be doing something for the team up forward. He must be a terrific player to have, get the ball to your feet.
Yeah, he is, and he has the skill and talent, which is very high, but that's the thing with Melky. He brings the work rate, the ability to improve everyone around him, and I think the growth you've seen in Van Rooyen and Pets, especially in the last month, has been off the back of Melky's good work. He's on-field coaching. I don't know if you guys have ever got to a game on the sideline. You can hear Melky from all parts of the ground, and that's something that Melky, again, just continues to help improve everyone around him, and it helps us function as a forward line, and so he's been a crucial part of this last, I think he's been playing for the last 8 weeks, and yeah, he's in a really, really good spot, is Mel.
Yeah, fantastic. Alex Neil-Bullen, thanks so much for joining us here on Grandstand AFL. Congratulations on the win, and best of luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you, guys. Cheers.
Yeah, Alex Neil-Bullen there, who had a pretty impressive afternoon, it has to be said. He kicked 3 goals and was part of that mosquito fleet of Melbourne forwards that kicked 9 goals between them on their way to a 32-point win here at Bellerive over North Melbourne. An update for you from Docklands, where St Kilda are playing Carlton, and 11 minutes into the second term, it's the Saints holding an advantage, 21 points to the good. St Kilda, they lead 6-1-37 to Carlton's 2-4-16, so it's a little result maybe on the way there for you, Berkey. That's an interesting game, and
it's a huge game.
It has some pretty big ramifications for what happens at finals time.
Yeah, huge game, that one. Saints, I'm going to call Carlton a scalp now. They've been playing some really good football, so the question mark against the Saints was, their performance against those other top 8 sides, and so if they can get over this one, that's going to give them a real big boost going into the last month.
And a reminder also, following the conclusion of the post-match wrap-up from here at Bellerive, you'll be off to Perth, where Fremantle are hosting the Brisbane Lions. And that's another big game as well, because they're also in the mix, the Lions, for the top 4, currently on 52 points. So they're a game adrift of Melbourne now, who sit in second, but they can leapfrog Port Adelaide into third spot on the ladder with a win over the Dockers. So an interesting game to unfold over in Perth. Brad Sewell, who wants to do the votes this afternoon, by the way, for the ABC Footballer of the Year, the 3, 2, 1? Anybody?
Yeah, I'll have a go. I have... Now I've got to find them here now. I've given 1 vote to Angus Brayshaw, most possessions on the ground, 37. 2 votes to... Where has he gone? Pickett. 14 disposals, 3 goals, and created a number of other opportunities. And the 3 votes to Christian Petrarca. 27 disposals, 2 goals, 3. Could have been more damaging in front of goals, but again, the most influential player on the ground.
Yeah, he was impressive, wasn't he? 27 disposals, 2 goals, 3, and maybe could have had 4 or 5. That is for sure. So Melbourne 15-13, 103. They win by 32 points over North Melbourne here at Bellerive, 10-11, 71. As we mentioned, the Roos with the Bombers and the Suns to come up in their next 3. Michael Maney called a couple of North Melbourne games together now. Your thoughts on the Roos and whether or not they might be able to snap this losing streak before the year's out?
Well, I think what they need to do is get their inside 50 fixed up, because their kick inside 50, they just don't have anyone to connect up with when that shallow inside 50 comes in. So they get in, but they've got no one to really take a mark, and they're asking Larkey to clunk against some really, really good players. So they just need to tidy that up. It's a number of things they need to tidy up, but gee, when you look through it, they've got real goers. Curtis Taylor's a goer. I mean, Sheasel's dropped off a little bit, and Stevenson they're not getting enough out of. Scott and Davies Uniacke, they're your midfield for a long time. Simpkin. Tucker is just going, I guess. Goldstein, they're going to have to find something for him. Does Mackay stay? And Curtis is Will of the Wisp. Will Taron Thomas stay? Because I think he's showing signs that he's starting to get back. So they've got some players there, and of course they'll get the young guy who's missing, who's injured. Wardlaw, Georgie Wardlaw. They'll get him, and I was impressed with Archer today. But look, they've got something going on, and they'll get some early draft picks, and I suppose they're a few years away, but I was impressed with them up to half time. I thought they showed a lot of heart, but anyway, they're 18 down without a win, and they just need a win just to pick the club up a little bit, don't they?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what the doctors ordered. It sounds obvious, but a win, does so much more for footy clubs sometimes than just 4 points in the win-loss column at the end of the day. So we do hope that maybe North Melbourne can snag a victory before the year is out. Lots to like about the Roos, and lots of talent coming through, and maybe the return of Alistair Clarkson can bear some fruit. But that's just about all from us from here in Hobart. A big thank you to our man on the boundary, Andrew Cooling, who reported all the news very dutifully. The big news, of course, out of Bellerive this afternoon was Harrison Petty going down with a lower leg injury. He finished the game in a moon boot, so fascinating to see what the Demons do there. But it mattered little in the end, because they were able to get a comprehensive victory over the North Melbourne Kangaroos, 15-13, 103 to 10-11, 71. They string together 5 in a row, do the Demons, to sit in second on the AFL ladder. A big thank you to you, Nathan Burke. A big thank you to you, Brad Sewell, and also to our tech for this afternoon, Luke Person. A big thank you also to you, Michael Maney. That's all from us from here at Bellerive. You're off to Perth, where Fremantle is taking on the Brisbane Lions.